no rain, nor sleet. Howie Roseman or the internet can stop big sales. Nothing. Contingency plans are always in place to make sure truth, justice, and the big sales way always works. But as we always start the program out, we start it with Big Sills. How you doing? Yes, obviously you guys see that we have a little bit of issues here when it comes to the internet and the show right now. But have no fear. We will get this bad puppy rocking and rolling. There were so many great storylines over the weekend. I first want to start it out by saying this. Welcome aboard. We are now in the air for the 2024 season. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake. Okay? You're in the air now. You are in the air. We're going to find out what kind of football team you have and others have as we get ready for the exhibition season. First and foremost, I got to start this bad puppy out by saying this. That clown show known as the Olympics and the opening to that thing was disgusting. It just absolutely was disgusting. I don't know what you've done to the Olympic Games, but you have absolutely bastardized it. Okay? There's so many of my friends, too. Rowdy Gaines, Julie Foudy's calling the soccer. These are all friends of mine. So I kind of watch because I really love those guys. But to watch some of the Olympics, man, I mean, come on. You've turned that thing into a freak show. Seriously, I thought I was watching a drag show when the opening ceremonies happened. I thought I was watching a drag show. And so I'm sitting there going, man, just give me sports, please. And don't give me your stupid politics. But then again, thank you for the NFL, college football rocking and rolling right around the season. And I look forward to it. All right, guys. Hey, by the way, we appreciate you coming here. And by the way, James Jones, how you doing? I think your Washington Commanders, James. Everyone thinks, including Xander, thinks that I'm insane, but I'm still going. I'm still going with the Commanders winning the NFC East. All right. Hey, man, there's a lot of great storylines over the weekend, and Kellen Moore, most notably had his press conference on Saturday, and we're going to give you the Big Sills takeaways, plus some other of the players talking over the weekend. All good. Hey, James, I'm with you, brother. I'm totally with you. Totally with you. I think you're going to have a good season this year. This whole thing is going to be all coming around your quarterback. It's going to come down to Jaden Daniels and whether or not that guy's going to be the next coming of C.J. Stroud. And I completely agree with it. So, without further ado, what were your takeaways? And here, let me do this. The first week of Eagle training camp, and my takeaways, I think they addressed a lot of issues. I think there's a new vibe in the building. I believe that they're putting 2023 behind them. And I said this at the end of last week. I believe that you're going to see this football team try to put all the deficiencies that they had coaching-wise and player-wise and all the meltdowns that they had a year ago behind them. I really do. I think they're going to, and they're trying to do their best, and they're trying to put their best foot forward. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Let's get them likes up, man. A lot of motion. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that. C24, 14-3. That I'm not going. And Super Bowl champions, not happening. Not yet, at least. I am encouraged by some of the comments that are being made. I am very encouraged. And I want to give you my takeaways from Kellen Moore and what I saw with Kellen Moore. I went back and watched that press conference, and I actually watched the press conference pretty much from start to finish. And here were some of the things, and I wrote down a bunch of stuff here that I took away from what he said and how he is trying to communicate with Jalen Hurts. Do I like Kellen Moore, and do I think it's going to be a good fit? We'll see. Still a work in progress. Okay, they put the pads on tomorrow. But here's some of the things I took away. Both Jalen Hurts and Cam Jurgens are going to split responsibilities in pass protection. Now, I'm going to tell you why I think that's essential. I don't think Cam Jurgens in any way is going to help Jalen Hurts in this process. I think Jalen Hurts is going to help the young Cam Jurgens as he gets acclimated and he gets an understanding of reading blitzes. You're going from right guard into a position where you're going on the hot stove right away. And to me, I think Hurts will be more beneficial to Cam Jurgens than Jurgens to Hurts. But I do think as he gets acclimated, I'm talking Cam, I do think as he gets acclimated, I think he's going to have more of an understanding. And I think there is going to be a process there as these two guys work together and communicate. I like what Kellen was saying. Hey, look, you two guys figure it out. Okay? You two guys figure it out. You figure it out, we're going to have success. Sam, hope you had a good weekend too, brother. He commented on Barkley. He said Barkley is going to be a week-to-week option. That, to me, taking away means great versatility that you're going to have now at the running back position that potentially you didn't have in the past. And what I mean by that is you're going to be more of a chameleon. Your offense is going to look a little bit like what Belichick's offense looked like with Josh McDaniels. 1 week you had a running back that was active, that got you 200 yards rushing. Appreciate it, Marshall. Let's effing go. Smash the like button. We're now here ready for some football. Way to go, Marshall. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. You know we're never not going to be here. I don't give a shit what the internet does. I don't care what it does, dude. Okay? Look at Dream. Hey, Dreamcatcher. Big takeaway. Competency. Okay. I like that. But what Barkley's going to give you guys, Barkley's going to give you the ability to be able to be a chameleon week in and week out. Okay? You're going to be able to do things that you haven't done in the past. 1 week, Barkley's going to be instrumental in the run game. 1 week, he's going to be instrumental in the pass game. So that's why when I said to you guys, 950 yards rushing, 450 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns rushing, and another 5 receiving, and I said to you, you really wouldn't want 105 yards in total offense from a guy each and every single game, not a receiver, and his name is Barkley? King fan, appreciate it. Prince, how you doing, brother? You have coaching now. It surely seems it. So that's really great to hear that Kellen Moore is trying to figure out how to use this special tool that he has, known as Saquon Barkley. Where it's going to make Pickett look like Purdy. He could. I heard that Kenny Pickett is having an outstanding camp so far. Sirianni's high school coach has the conditioning under control. 11, I heard that. And I thought that was okay. Okay, I did. I'll tell you what, if you have more of an emphasis on conditioning, I don't care who's telling you how to be conditioned. As long as you're conditioning your football players, that's a great thing. So when you hear him say high school, which didn't help him out, but when you hear the word conditioning, that's okay, man. Okay? That's okay. Coach Corey, Big Sale's only cussing with the Miami chain on now unless you super chat. I don't have the Miami chain around here with me, man. So, I mean, again, I liked it. Here's another takeaway. We're talking about moving around A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith more. And it's not necessarily going to be that they're not going to not be in the slot, but you can see that there's going to be a lot more motion. There's going to be a lot more movement. Barkley to be the weapon. Hey, Bob, reprint that there for me, will you please? I see how he sits with, yeah, I got it. We need conditioning is bad. Hello, Davis and Carter. We need them to both get on the juice and get serious. Charlie, we don't need him to get on the juice. Okay? We don't need him to get on the juice. But I like the fact that Kellen is going to try to put these guys in a position to succeed by moving them around. Alejandro, so you're streaming on your phone. Great commitment, my friend. Alejandro, you're here. Why wouldn't we be here? Xander and I were not going to have this show not go on today because some asshole in California didn't have the internet up or they're doing something stupid. Okay? We were not going to not go on. Sills would do anything to trash the Eagles. Hey, fuck back. Where do you see me trashing the Eagles here? This guy's a dick, this C24. He thinks, I mean, honest to God, but I love you, dog. Way to be here every day and be committed, guy. Way to be committed to Big Sills. Thank you. Later. Have a great day. Don't need you. Wide receiver 3. He's not just going to be a slot guy. He's going to be a guy that is going to be moved around the same way the other guys. So actually what they're going to do is they're going to make him instrumental and they're going to make him part of the offensive attack. Actually, what they're going to try to do is get something out of that. 304. Hey, Xander, can you repost that for me too? What 304 just put up because I missed the super chat. I'd like to get that super chat there if I could too by 304 because I missed it. So we'll see if we can repost that there. I need to see Johnny Wilson win that wide receiver 3. Absolutely. Absolutely. 304, if you want to re-put it up there for me or repost it, go right ahead. I'll read it for you there. Jerry's had quite a week. And the Cowboys have had quite a week. And the owner's in court more than he is at training camp. Okay? But you're going to get something out of wide receiver number 3. They're going to actually make it part of the offensive attack. I like it. All good, man. Guy beat the hell out of Parsons yesterday. I love it. Hey, remember what I told you? Hey, 304. Micah Parsons is not a physical football player, my friend. He's a finesse guy. And you know what you might want to do? You might not want to put his hand in the dirt. You might want to keep him and stand him up. You know what I'm saying? Seals needs to pay his bills. Ain't me, man. I paid the damn cable this morning. Ain't me. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, 304. I appreciate that too. Running backs. This is my takeaways from Kellen Moore's press conference. Running backs. They have to be part of the passing game. About time. Okay? About time. Tight ends. Moore likes what he's got with Grant Calcaterra. You know, Grant Calcaterra has had an outstanding camp. And he has impressed people to the point where they really think highly of him. Big Sills, happy Football Monday, brother. Daniel, thank you so much, my friend. Moore's always used the running backs. Hey, Moore's going to use the running backs, wide receiver 3, and a 2 tight end set. That's one of the things that you could take away from the weekend. that there's going to be some utilization coming off those three people. Running backs, tight end 2, wide receiver 3. That's great. Last year, his injury effed him up. I liked him coming to Philly. Hey, I didn't really think that he was a factor last year, but I think that he looks like he's had a heck of an off season, and they really like him. So, hey, guys, please hit the like button. We appreciate you guys here. So that's great. Hey, they're liking the second tight end, and they're going to need him. A little bit more on my Kellen Moore takeaways. I wrote down a bunch of stuff here. Training camp has been an installation process. Today will be the final day of installation. And they're starting to put as much as they possibly can in because tomorrow they put the pads on. Jalen, they're doing things, and they're going to be able to do things in the run game. And finding the right play that fits his skill set is going to be something that's going to be a work in progress. I love that. Here's what he's saying. We're not going to run him just to run him. We're going to run him and make it matter when he runs. So they're going to selectively pick plays that they're going to be designed. You know what I would say that reminds me of? It reminds me a little bit of how they run Patrick Mahomes. I like it. 215. Big Sale's never denied, bro. You do whatever it takes. Then a little bit more. How you doing? Hurts is in command right now. And he looks smooth. As we said, Cam Jurgens and Hurts are going to team up in pass protection. And the offensive line has to communicate, which means this. They have to communicate up and down the line of scrimmage because Jason Kelce is no longer there. One of the takeaways that I had from Kellen Moore was the fact that the replacing of Jason Kelce from the cerebral side of it is going to be a monumental task. It is going to be a monumental task for them to be able to replace that guy's knowledge in the middle of the field. So they're going to have great communication up and down the line of scrimmage from tackle to tackle for them to be able to pick up blitzing. And by the way, the communication might end up helping everybody. Instead of having just one voice, you have everybody communicating. So I like it. I like that. Malata seems to be assuming his role and their leader, I think. I like that too, Alejandro. I do. I like that too. I just think a guy like Lamar with his running threat always alive is going to free up Henry, and I can't see how you stop it. I can't wait to see it. I agree, Charlie. I think anytime, because you have that threat of Lamar Jackson running the way that you do, there's no question about it, that is going to open up the passing lanes for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. That's so to the point and so true. He says Hurts seems a little bit more comfortable than he did in the OTAs and in minicamp. There's no question Jalen Hurts has been working on some of the deficiencies that he had in OTAs and minicamp, because it looks like he is really with a grasp now of what they're trying to do. Maybe it was just a communications thing. Maybe it was just an issue where they had and working on installments. Maybe they were doing that. So again, he seems to be more in control. It's a good thing. New apprentice in Baltimore. Okay. I think Baltimore is going to have a great season. Baldy says Hurts had clunky footwork last year. Yeah, because Jalen is not a pocket passer. His fundamentals are not very good in the pocket. Like, he drifts. He's not really a guy to get back in a 7-step and progressive read. He's clunky back there. But then again, At the end of the day, you can improve on that. Okay? Bo says, can't stand this dude. Then why are you here? It's like somebody going on my Twitter page. Nobody cares what you're saying. I don't care. It's my Twitter page. Why are you here? Surely there's some other suck-ass show you can go and wave your pom-poms to, dude. Sills, running Barkley more will allow them to run Hurts and counterpunch. Completely agree. Completely agree. Jalen's having a really good camp so far. Okay? They're going to get something out of wide receiver 3. You know, they only let Kellen Moore talk for 12 minutes. Okay? They're only letting him talk for 12 minutes. 12 minutes. But we took a lot of that. Terminology. He was asked the question where he learned his offensive approach from. And he said Mike McCarthy. He said learning from some of the quarterbacks that I've dealt with and plus him being a quarterback himself and being able to apply that. Can I tell you what this reminds me of? Tell me if you guys agree with me on this. Kellen Moore reminds me of kind of a younger Frank Reich. Guy was a former backup quarterback in the league, has turned into a coordinator. I mean, you see some of the same kind of approaches. They want to spread the ball around. Do you see that a little bit? That you're looking at a guy in Kellen Moore who kind of reminds you a little bit of a younger Frank Reich, where, you know, you're cutting your chops, you've moved around. Frank had like 9 or 10 different jobs. You know what I'm saying? He had like 9 or 10 different jobs before he ended up landing in Philadelphia, winning a Super Bowl. I mean, so the more experience that you get, and plus remember something about Frank. Frank backed up Boomer Esiason in college. Frank backed up Jim Kelly and Buffalo. He was a backup quarterback pretty much the entire career that he had in the NFL. Then he went on to be a coordinator. And so you kind of get a different perspective. And also, too, I would say this, that Doug Peterson was a backup quarterback. I think you get a different perspective when you get a look at the game as a backup quarterback. Okay? So, I mean, you know that most offensive coordinators were quarterbacks. You mean backup quarterbacks. You mean backup quarterbacks. What coordinator plays in today's NFL that was a starting quarterback in the NFL? Who? Doug wasn't successful as a quarterback. Frank was. Name me a quarterback that was a starting quarterback in the National Football League that's offensive coordinator now. A backup is a quarterback. Yeah, okay. Hey, guy, I asked you, name me one quarterback that was a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's an offensive coordinator right now. I told you that's why I made the comparison of Frank Reich, asshole. That is probably where you – just like, here, get this too. You ever wonder why most great managers in Major League Baseball are catchers? Because they see their only position that they see the game in front of them. They have the only view. They have the only view looking at it from the batter of every position player in baseball. They look out like the hitter looks out. So he knows defense. He knows starting pitching. That's why most of your great managers have been catchers. Okay? They've been catchers. I mean, right? Bruce Bochy, Joe Torre. Go down the list. Okay? I mean, most of them have been outstanding. Sills, backup quarterbacks understand the importance of having a deeper understanding of schemes. Hopefully more can – right. Sills, what's with the new look? Just temporary. Just temporary, maniac. Had to get the show off. It's a Monday. Kellen Moore is an upgrade over Nick and Brad from last year. Moore has seen a lot of defensive schemes, blitz packages, so we'll be able to adapt as necessary. Absolutely, man. I heard a stat about quarterbacks when facing blitzes. There were like 10 TDs. Big Sills. Let's see here. So let me continue here. He said Saquon's a special player, and he'll be essential in the attack. There's no doubt that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith will be used in the slot a lot. That's just emphasizing it again. Here's one thing, though, that I did take away that I didn't like. There was no comment in the 12-minute interview that he did with RPOs. There's no way RPOs are going to be involved in that offense whatsoever. So they're trying to come up with different ways of having Jalen Hurts run the ball. Folks, if you were hoping for RPOs, they're gone. They're gone for good. They're not running an RPO. Nobody asked the question, and he didn't expand on RPOs whatsoever. So the RPO that made him great in 22 is not part of the equation. 11, I don't know why. Well, you kind of know why. But the RPO, no, watch this. I-Tech's definitely not gone. Well, it's been no mention of it whatsoever, and they're not running it, and they're not installing it so far in practice. They have not. They've installed read option, but they have not installed one time. Not at all. The RPO. Maybe playoffs? Doubtful. The RPO fit Jalen's skill set and experience at that point in time. We don't know about Mitchell. We don't know what Mitchell is yet. No, we don't. We have to wait and see him get in a football game. Why do you think the RPO is somewhat buried in the playbook? They don't want to get the kid hurt. They're going to run double secret RPO. No, they're not. I think they're thinking then we should switch to Pickett now. No. Jalen's having a good camp. Why would you even contemplate something like that? Barkley needs to stay healthy. That's correct. Because if Barkley doesn't stay healthy, the RPO will be put back into the offense. Seals, Moore should be able to scheme, clear our areas and the defense. Sorry, guys, doing it off the phone. These things are really fast moving here. And I appreciate all you guys being here. So if I'm giving you kind of half sentences and half answers here, I'm trying to read them as fast as I possibly can. So I appreciate you guys' patience with us here. Thank you guys again. Small hand statement. How you doing? Yeah, no RPOs. So what do you guys make of this? So Nick pops his head in all these meetings. And, you know, he just pops his head into all the meetings. Take your time, old man. Thank you, handsome hustler. Thank you, man. Pickett plays good in camp and preseason, but sucks during the regular season. Jeff, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. Okay? You think the Eagles play their A1 team in preseason? I don't. No RPO, then why pay Jalen? Charlie, I think they're going to go and they're going to try to replace the RPO with Saquon Barkley. Chills, I'll buy you an iPad, bro. Jeez, this is unacceptable. Shut up, Prince. Stop being a bitch. Come on, man. Stop being a bitch. We need a nice quarterback with all this talent. Well, we'll see. I think Jalen's having a good camp, man. Let's see what he does when he gets in the first half of the season. Sills, max protect, go through progressions. Let's pick up. Can offset RPO. Okay? A lot of motion they said they're going to have. No question about it. Bootlegs, rollouts, play action from under center. They're going to get Jalen moving early, so he's not such an easy target back there in the pocket. Sam, I happen to agree with you on that. I hope Pickett plays well in the preseason and we get a second pick for him. That's a great take. Run Saquon in the option. Give me Russell Wilson for a year. Nick's telling the coaches what PowerPoints and tape should be included in the meetings, like an intern. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I got Nick Sirianni takeaways too from this morning. I'm going to do that here in a second, and some of the things that I heard from him. But here, I'll tell you one thing also. I think the players are enjoying what's going on. Now, tomorrow they put the pads on, like we said. Jalen has been picking up the blitz in practice. Prince, you mean he's been recognizing it, correct? Right? We'll see if he picks it up when you're in game. We'll see if he's able to do that when the bullets are real, so to speak. I mean, it's one thing to sit there when you're going through 9-on-7 or 7-on-7, but we'll see when he's in that game against Green Bay and you've got complex defenses being thrown at him. And I would even say this: I think Cam Jurgens is the linchpin in this whole thing. If he struggles, you're in trouble. I don't think it's going to be Jalen. You put way more responsibility on him, which is not a horrible thing. Remember this here. You're paying this guy $51 million. Okay? You're paying him $51 million. He should have more responsibilities. If he can spread the ball around, absolutely. I trust in Kellen. That's what Prince says. Same options will change when it's full pads, full speed. It's true. Game tempo. I'll tell you what, I liked what Nick said. They're practicing tempo and game tempo, and that's a key to any good practice. And any good coach is that you're practicing game tempo all the time. I can't tell you guys, okay? I can't tell you guys how important that is for a coach to have a practice like that. I've showed up at many camps, and you see, like when you go to a Dallas Cowboy camp, they meander to the next drill. They don't really have an emphasis on getting to the next drill. Ace, hey, Sills, are you moving to be more optimistic, or do you still screaming where has the defense upgraded, or can Vic make lemonade out of lemons? 34 says, hey, Seals, are you moving to being more optimistic? Thank you very much, 304. Yeah, I want to be careful because I don't know what talent you have. I just don't know what talent you have on defense yet. But I like the structure of what you're doing. Here, 304, let me give you what I'm liking so far that I think is important as you move into pads and the important part of training camp and then into the exhibition games. You're doing a lot of the things that you need to do that are right, and starting with conditioning. You're conditioning your mind, your body. You're doing the right thing. You've got a coach that takes no shit on that side of the ball in Vic. He's going to play the best players. Kellen Moore is trying to figure out ways to take the RPO out of the offense by using Barkley and running Jalen in critical situations that are going to utilize his skill set. That is an integral thinking part of how they want to use the kid. It's a thought process that this thing has gone on. And by the way, Kellen's just not punching a time clock. You know, you've got to come up with, it's very Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't run the RPO unless he has to. He doesn't run the RPO unless he has, like he did in the Super Bowl. That's not something he's going to do. He'll run that. Okay? He'll run that when he needs to win or when when it calls for it. And I think that's what they're trying to do with Hurts. So am I moving towards being more optimistic? It's funny. I'm more optimistic because Nick has less influence. 304, does that make sense? I think I'm more optimistic about the Eagles because it has been a good thing that Nick's influence has been lessened. And I think you hear that, even in his own conversation. Right? I mean, you're hearing Kellen talk. By the way, I think that was by design. I think that was by design. They only had Sirianni or Kellen Moore talk for 12 minutes. I don't think they want him up there for like 25 minutes or talking longer than Nick, because it would have the impression that he's got more say and more autonomy than what Sirianni does, especially when it comes to controlling the offense. So to me, I think that was by design, not to give them a lot of Kellen. Everyone is saying that Rose's speed translates to routes. Nick's offense sucks. 2-5 in 2021. Last year, Brian ran it. I get it. 12 personnel, tempo, rollouts, motion. There's no RPO. They didn't have it. They're not even talking RPO, though. Nick's feelings will be hurt. I think it's more so than anything that they're trying to protect, because it's been very evident that the Eagles want to protect Sirianni as much as they possibly can. Again, I want to go back to 304 and what he asked me. Are you more optimistic? I'm more optimistic they're doing the right things. Okay? I'm more optimistic they're doing the right things when it comes to preparing for pads tomorrow, what they're preparing for the training camps. So I like what they're doing. And is it more optimistic, 304? Yeah. It's better coaching already. You can feel it. You can feel it and see it. And you can hear it by the coaches. But I also think that that's got a lot to do with Nick and not having Nick with the influence. Kellen has better general understanding of how motion works, the breakdown of defenses. Agreed. Sam says because Nick will eventually have to start calling plays again. No. Nick's in the closet now. Keep him there. That's what Sam says. Sam, in a way, though, he's not in the closet. He's behaving himself. He is. He's behaving himself. Jet sweep RPO, baby. Okay. They didn't mention that they were going to run it this year. So you're telling me this year is a wash? I'm not saying no. You have to get out there. Hey, we have to see the first month of the season. We have to see the first month of the season. He's staying in the playpen? Maybe a little bit. Forrest goes, Nick has an ankle bracelet on. Pretty funny, man. Big Dom keeping him in line. Nick is like Vermeil with the Rams. Mike Martz ran the offense. Okay, a little bit there. I see that. Big picking. I got you there a little bit. I see that. Okay. Corey says, Big Sills, LF&G, baby. I'm with you, man. Nick's the receptionist. Well, let me give you some of my takeaways on Sirianni. Let's do Nick. Nick says he floats around all the rooms and sticks his head in. Is that a good or bad thing? It could become a good thing. Let's come from that angle. If he's not in a way and he walks in just to see what the coaches are doing, whether it's a defensive back coach or a linebacker coach or a coordinator, and he's walking in and he's not in the way, that's what really a CEO coach does. Coach Johnson would never walk into a team meeting and say something, or into a position meeting, or into a group meeting like OC or DC. He would never say anything. Tom Landry, too. Maybe on defense a little bit, Coach Landry would. But those guys never really spoke during position meetings or during like defensive or offensive meetings. They were there to observe, and they wanted to hear what the coaches were trying to install. They wanted to hear player feedback, and that's kind of what he would do. But then when they got to their coaches' meetings, Jimmy would have a notepad, and he would bring out everything that he heard, and he would want something addressed or not addressed. So there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're getting the results that you need. Hey, Seals, I'm a new subscriber. Go Eagles. Red wins. A red wine. Thank you very much. I appreciate you doing that, brother, especially today since we're kind of making sure we get the show off the ground. Thank you. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. Prince, Jordan Davis has a new coach, and he's excelling in practice. Disrupting plays, coaching matters, Sills. How he messed up last year with the staff. Thank you, Prince. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, they did. And there's no doubt that Clint Hurt has been an upgrade from Tracy Rocker. And not that Tracy Rocker is a bad coach, because he is not, Prince. But Clint Hurt has been an upgrade to the defensive line. We shall see if Jordan Davis, once they get the pads on, is going to be as disruptive as he possibly can be. Okay? Davis is back where he belongs, over the center. If you remember 215, I said the one thing that I would like to see is have him at the nose, because it could rejuvenate his entire career as an Eagle into being the disruptor that he possibly can be. Yeah, let's see how that plays out. But again, guys, let's not get crazy here. They haven't even been in pads yet. You don't really know what you have yet. Sirianni said that because of the injury, here's a critical injury here. So Tyler Steen's out. Am I the only one who has a bad feeling about this Brazil game, week 1? Hey, Dartmouth, I think you're losing that game. I still think you're losing that game. I don't think you'll be ready for that game. I think the best part of your season is going to be at the back 8 of the season this year. I think you'll be playing your best ball by week 10 or 8. You're not going to be playing your best ball out of the gate. I don't believe you will be. I think there's too much to install. I think that there's too much to have happen. I personally think you're 0-1. Okay? It's an L. Yeah, Tyler Steen is injured. Mekhi Becton's going to get some reps over at right guard. So that's critical. So now you've lost Cooper DeJean for a little bit, and now you've lost Tyler Steen. One of the positions that you're looking at that you're going to need a lot of help, and you haven't been able to replace Isaac Seumalo since Isaac Seumalo left the right guard spot. You think we're losing to Green Bay and Brazil? I do. I do think you're losing that game. Still, I'm hopeful that Moore has the ability to implement just some of the RPO. If he can use it, hurts its growing pains early in the season. That would help. It totally would help if you instituted, Bob, the RPOs early, but nobody asked the question if the RPOs were going to be put in, and he hasn't addressed it to where they're not even practicing RPOs. Chills, do you think it's realistic that Bradbury could excel at safety? Woodson did it at the end of his career. We're going to get to some of the comments by the players. Chills, what's going on with Trevor Keegan? I think he's a slow developing guy. All right, I do. Okay, I think he's a slow developing guy, and that's why they're going to put Mekhi Becton over there. This team has way too much firepower to run support to be good safety. Sills, has a team ever replaced both coordinators? I'm trying to think. That's a great call. Have they ever replaced 2 coordinators and went to the Super Bowl? No. No. Think about that. It's a great take. Replacing both coordinators 2 years in a row. You think you're going to a Super Bowl? Name me a team that's ever done that. Now, could you make history? We'll see. New ways to get to plays. This is a Nick Sirianni comment. Flexing, fans are delusional. Yeah, they are. And so are some analysts. Think about that, Flexing. You can't name an NFL history where new coordinators on both sides of the football were put into their football coaching staffs and they went on to win a Super Bowl in the same year. It just doesn't happen. That just doesn't happen. In the Super Bowl era, it's never happened. Delusional versus realistic. Well, how about reality? That's never happened. Okay? Fans got to get real. That's why I say, Flexing, you're going to be really good next year. You're gonna be really good next year, in my opinion. Okay? So after Moore spoke about Saquon in motion in the offense, why is John McMullen against it? I don't know why John McMullen has this argument with Xander every day about motion. And it's actually no disrespect, and I don't mean this as a negative to John, but I don't know what John's talking about, actually. Anytime you use motion and you're a defensive football player and your linebackers and safeties are back there, automatically you have to move to motion, which moves the strength of your defense. Because if the strength of your offense, because you know what's going to happen? Here, let me give you a little bit why I don't get John's. He talks about the end result of the play. I'm talking about setting up the play to have success. And I think that's where Xander's coming from. To give your play the best chance of success, they use motion. Yeah, John's like this. Well, if the play works, motion worked. No, that's not how that works. You're trying to give your play the best opportunity with mismatches and open lanes for the play to work. Now, let me show you something here. So if I'm an offense and I'm the linebacker or the safety, and I'm watching, and I see motion go, and you go to a strong side over here, and you change the strength of your offense. If I don't go to that and move and slide, they're going to run the play over there and have a mismatch with more men versus you're going to have 5 versus 4. That's just based off motion. You can't not go to that, and you cannot adjust to that. Because every time you don't adjust to it, the strength changes. So prior to the play, you're giving yourself an advantage of having more men versus less men. That's pre-snap motion. That helps you have mismatches. How is that not setting up a play for success? Now, does the guy have to catch the ball? Yes. But what you're doing is you're moving people around for passing lanes. When I move the free and strong safety around, pre-snap, I'm giving the play the better chance of success. I think that's exactly what Xander's talking about when he's having these arguments with John. John doesn't grasp that. Dude, nobody's saying the play's going to be successful, but the chances of it being more successful, 95%, is going to be 95% more. Why? Mismatches. If I put A.J. Brown in motion and put him in the slot, and he's got to go against the safety, is that not an advantage? Pre-snap, he's going against lesser people, and he's going against a slower dude. I don't get what he's saying. He thinks he knows that, and he don't. He has no idea what he's talking about with that. Okay, I mean, has no idea. Here's another one. If fucking motion didn't work, why do coaches and coordinators use it? I'm not trying to confuse my own guys. It makes no sense. It just every time I hear it, I'm like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, he has no idea what he's talking about when he says that. Okay, I mean, here's a question: did none of Jalen's former coaches understand the role of motion, or was he just not comfortable using it? I think probably both. Probably both. They tried to. Hey, one of the things that you had, does it make sense? Brian Johnson was a first-year coordinator, and he had a simplistic offensive attack. Well, okay. Is that out of the realm of reasoning that you wouldn't have a lot of things that would confuse the quarterback when he was already confused on picking up blitzes? Hey, by the way, you struggled picking blitzes up with Jason Kelce. You really think that's going to improve this year? How? Give me one reason that you think Hurts in the blitz pickup will be better this year when you struggled with Jason Kelce in the offensive line. What's your, because Kellen Moore's your OC? That's a quarterback, offensive line, center identification. Okay, I mean, where in the world do you see that getting better when you lose a guy like Kelce? Okay, hot routes. Jalen Barkley back there to help block. Yeah, he's a great pass probe guy. Absolutely. Something else. As I said, pads on tomorrow. He was asked a question about Bradbury. And once again, I don't know what's going on here. Hey, I really love seeing Bradbury get the corner work, but I also like what he's doing back there with the opportunity to play safety. He's going to get an opportunity, and he has the skill set and knowledge to be able to play it. Somebody asked a question earlier, and I'll say it one more time to you. The chances of Bradbury playing safety in the National Football League is 1 billion to 1. It's 1 billion to 1. The chances of him being able to play safety. Like Vic said, that doesn't happen. You don't see that transition. When Kellen Moore was the OC for Dak and Justin, their win rate against the blitz was up. Okay? Because they got the ball out of the hands quicker. Okay? Because they got the ball out of the hands. Absolutely. Yeah, 11-7. When you're talking about Rod Woodson and Ronnie Lott, those are Hall of Fame players. Bradbury ain't no Hall of Fame player. He's a good player, but he's not a Hall of Fame player. Some comments made by some of the players. I'll tell you what, man. Listening to Avonte Maddox, he's a smart player. I see why the Eagles like him. I do. I see why they like him. He's a team concept guy. He said he'll play any position they need. I like him. He's dealing with the rookies. They ask questions. I help them. It's a good competitive room. I like him. I do. I mean, I really like him. I heard him speaking, and I was like, wow, man, I see why people like the kid. I hope he can play. You know what he said, too, about the offense? He goes, it's going to be very interesting to see because they're using a ton of motion, and they're moving people all around on that offense, and it's going to be something special to watch. And I like that. He's like this. His observation is that the offense is doing a lot of new looks this year, and they're going to be able to be very difficult to defend because of all the new things that they're doing, which is great. So I like it. I really hope this kid can play. He says it's great working with a guy like Vic Fangio because Vic Fangio is going to put you in a position that you're going to succeed, and it's really going to be all basically up to the players. I like it. Yeah, Steve, I don't get why John fights Xander on that motion stuff. I mean, you ever watch the 49ers? Hey, Niner all day. You in here? You ever watch the 49ers? Man, they're running jet sweeps. They're running motion. They're trying to free guys up every single play. They'll do dual motion. They'll put the tight end and they'll put a wide receiver in motion as well. I mean, I don't get guys like Kyle Shanahan and guys like Sean McVay use that to get guys open. Miami had the second best offense, and he's not going to get any better. Hey, Niner all day, right? Niner all day. Kyle Shanahan, he uses motion like all the time. I mean, to get Kittle open or to get Christian McCaffrey open. Just, I don't see it. I heard Nakobe Dean talking. And Nakobe Dean, I didn't realize this about Nakobe Dean, that he wasn't cleared to be able to go into practice and start practicing and preparing until the final week of minicamp. This guy's missed a shit ton of football. I mean, he missed all the OTAs. He pretty much missed the entire minicamp. And now he's just been cleared. And so he's preparing the last 4 weeks or 5 weeks, 6 weeks to get ready for training camp. I don't see it. When he said that, yeah, I haven't been cleared since the last week of minicamp. I heard him say that, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy's had no offseason. He's just been dealing with injuries his entire time since he's been in the league. I really don't know how good he is. I just know this. That guy cannot stay healthy. And I would never build my expectations in my linebacking room around that guy whatsoever. I don't give a shit what people think of him. I don't give a shit what round he got in. I would rather take a bum off the street that's going to give me 17 weeks than a kid who can't stay healthy at all. I mean, that guy cannot stay healthy. Just at all. I mean, yeah, and some of the shit he was saying, he loved competing with Devin White. How are you competing with Devin White when you haven't been healthy? I don't know. He's like, I don't know why. I get it. I think it's a waste of time. I do. I think it's a waste of time to have him out there. Prepare somebody else. It's like telling me, let's put Bradbury at safety. Why? Let's start working some of the younger guys. Make more sense to me than putting a guy back there that has no chance of playing safety at all in the NFL. Again, just a few of the takeaways that I didn't like was Bradbury playing on the Philadelphia Eagles makes no sense. Except that they may not believe what the young guys are yet. And they want to wait and see who they are. And this Dean experiment, dude, this is like Trey Lance shit. And Niner all day can tell you. The 49ers had to come to a painful conclusion that Trey Lance stunk. And that, you know how hard that was? Hey, Niner all day. Do you know how absolutely impossible that must have been for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to move off that guy? You know how hard that must have been? Giving up 3 number ones? And you just moved off that dude? And you were like, hey, I mean, he's just not good. Then they dealt him. right? Then they just dealt him. Nakobe Dean, I don't know why they have him out there. Forrest Hill, 49ers wasted 3 number ones. They sure did, man. They sure did. Nolan Smith is right there. Nolan Smith is next. Okay? Huge investment for San Francisco, but picking. They got it covered because of Purdy. Bond goes, hey, listen, they got lucky because of Purdy. Shanahan can make a lot of quarterbacks look great. He surely can. Okay? They surely can. Keely Ringo's first one up there at the cornerback spot. We'll see. How many Super Bowls Kyle Shanahan won using motion, clowns? 0-3. How many Super Bowls have you won? 1? You got nobody that's on the coaching staff that was at all involved with it except for Stoutland. Think about that. Your entire coaching staff that you had from the 2017 Super Bowl, only 1 guy's in the building. Okay, I mean, who are you kidding here? All right. Do me a favor, guys. We're going to take a look at some of the position battles that are going on in camp as well. Xander's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
So please hit the like button. We appreciate you guys so much. Know it's a different look a little bit here because we are having some internet issues. Hopefully they're going to be resolved by the end of the program. And we're diligently working through that. So we appreciate you guys hanging tight on this Football Monday here as we are now in the air for the 2024 season. Jets look like they are working on a resolution to this Hassan Reddick deal. They're trying to get him in the building. I think the only way you're going to get him in the building is if you bump him up to $25 million. Now, that's what his number is. Reportedly, that the Jets don't want to go over 20, and if they want to go into a 3-year contract extension, they want to go into something where they're going to do it halfway through the season. They want to see him in action before they do that. And Joe Douglas has made it very clear that they have no problem working on a new contract for him. But what they want to do is they want to be able to see this guy and how he's going to implement himself inside a Robert Saleh defense. They're going to need him. They're going to need him if they're going to compete in the AFC. They're going to need him because they're going to have to get these quarterbacks on the ground. And in the AFC, you have too many great quarterbacks. By the way, I want to show you something here. A lot of people have a lot of great respect for Kellen Moore. Pro Football Focus does as well. And they rank the top 10 offensive coordinators in the National Football League. Number 1, Ben Johnson, Detroit Lions. Number 2, Todd Monken, Baltimore Ravens. Number 3, Bobby Slowick, Houston Texans. Number 4, Kellen Moore, Philadelphia Eagles. Number 5, Arthur Smith, Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 6, Shane Waldron, Chicago. I'm looking forward to see how that works. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing how that relationship with Caleb Williams works. Number 7, Joe Brady, Buffalo Bills. Number 8, Ken Dorsey, Cleveland Browns. Number 9, Greg Roman, Los Angeles Chargers. And number 10, Drew Petzing, Arizona, working with Kyler Murray. So, I mean, that's a pretty good list there, especially since the fact that you're looking at now, again, you don't have Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay on here because those guys are actually the play callers and they're the guys who are the actual head football coaches. Bobby Slowick does well. I could see him being Chicago Bears head coach. Or if it ends up going south up at Buffalo, I could actually see him up at Buffalo. Dude, in my opinion, Sean McDermott has to win this year. Okay? Has to win. He has to win this year for that thing to look anything decent. I want to show you guys something here. By the way, don't forget, Xander's going to join us at the bottom of the hour. We're hopefully going to effort our friend Gary Cobb also at 4:30. I really like Will Brinson of CBS Sports. We've had Will on before. I really like him a lot. He ranked 7 tiers of quarterbacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1 being the best. Okay? 1 being the best. What tier do you think he has Jalen Hurts in? After his first 3 seasons, Trey Brown, I'm ready for hey, Xander, can you put that back up there, that super chat, please? Appreciate if you could put that super chat back up there that Trey put up there. Trey, if we can't, can you just repost it? I appreciate that. Again, we're working here a little bit. Okay. How many tiers per guy? Brian says he's in 4. I'm gonna give you how he looks at him. I like Will Brinson too. Will Brinson's a Hall of Fame voter, by the way. Okay, he is. Okay. Here's number one. Tier 1 is Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Top 3 quarterbacks in the National Football League. Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen. Number 2. Tier 2. Burrow, C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love. Number 3, Tier 3, Will Brunson, CBS Sports. Stafford, Goff, Purdy, Herbert, Dak, and Hurts. Four, Trevor Lawrence, Rodgers, Tua, Will Levis, Kyler Murray, and Anthony Richardson. Here's why. Jordan Love, after 8 good ones. Why, your guys only had 1 season. You can't use that metric and not use it for someone else, dude. Okay? I mean, Jalen Hurts has only had 1 season. What are you talking about? If it's good for your guy, it's good for Stroud or Jordan Love. Tier 5. Baker Mayfield, Geno, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, and Gardner Minshew. Number 6, Bryce Young, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones. Steve goes, Jordan Love had a good second half. Your guy had 1 season. Rashad goes like this, Jalen went to the playoffs 3 straight years. Dude. So then if you're going to use your metric, Brock Purdy went to 2 straight NFC title games. He's better than Jalen, right? Six is Bryce Young, Deshaun Watson, Wilson, and Daniel Jones, I said. 7, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Bo Nix, and J.J. McCarthy. These are all guys who haven't played. They haven't played. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are known for the choke. No, they're not. They're known to be playing better players than what you play every year in the NFC. That's a fact. You play against better people. Play against better people. Those are facts. Brock Purdy is good for that system, correct. They both lost Super Bowls. They are even, Sills. Okay, yeah. Just different styles. Brock Purdy and Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts. Sure. Okay. That sounds right. That does. Sills, your boy Allen is a choker. To who? Mahomes? Lamar? Burrow? Okay. So Michael Jordan, his first 9 years in the NBA, was he a choker? He lost to Bird. He lost to Isaiah. So he was a choker too. Michael Jordan, right? Let's not forget the night he scored 63 against the Celtics. They were swept. They were swept. Hurts owns Allen. Tyrod Taylor owns Hurts. Tyrod Taylor owns you. Big Sills got you there. With what? Josh Allen gets too much respect for no high expectations. That's ridiculous. Name me one star player on that offense. Name me one. Dalton Kincaid? Name me one. You got 10. I don't respect Stroud or Love being in tier 3. Hurts beat two of the top 3 Sills. How you doing? Yeah, and then you lost to the guy in Seattle, Kyler Murray, and the pizza guy. Speaking of that, here, let's go to you guys' comments here on this. Thought it was pretty interesting too, by the way. What do you think Patrick Mahomes is worth? You had to put a price tag on it. What would you think he's worth annually? If you're paying Hurts and Trevor Lawrence $50 million plus, what do you think he's worth a year? What would you pay him? You don't have to sign star players. Seals, Jalen has better passing yards than Lamar and a completion, but yet these analysts will downgrade him and praise Lamar. Because Lamar has lesser talent. Trey Brown, I'm ready for your Dean Cut Live, the Kobe disappointment. He is. He's terrible. It's time to get him out of there. Joseph says $60 million. Dude, Patrick Mahomes, what would you pay him? What would you absolutely pay him? What would you pay him? 100 million? 60 million? 70? I'm going to show you something here. And this goes to your guy. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville, $55 million. He's got a record of 20-30. 1-1 in the playoffs. He's got an 85 quarterback rating. 58 touchdowns to 39 interceptions. No Super Bowls. And he makes $55 million. Joe Burrow, $55 million. He's 29-22 and 1. 5-2 in the playoffs. 98.6 QB rating. 97 touchdown passes to 37 interceptions. He's 0-1 in the Super Bowls. Here's Jordan Love. $55 million. 9-9. 1-1 in the playoffs. 94 quarterback rating. 35 touchdowns, 14 picks. No Super Bowls. Here's Tua, who just got paid a couple days ago. 53-1. 32-19. Very good. 0-1 in the playoffs. 97-1 QBR, or not QBR, quarterback rating. 81 touchdowns, 37 picks. No Super Bowls. Golf. $53 million. 66-50-1. 4-4 in the playoffs. 93.6 quarterback rating. 185 touchdowns, 82 interceptions. 0-1 in the Super Bowl. Here's Justin Herbert at 52-5. 30-32. Under 500 record. 0-1 in the playoffs. 98 quarterback rating. 114 touchdowns, 42 interceptions, no touchdowns. Here's Lamar. $52 million. He's 58-19. 2-4 in the playoffs. 98 quarterback rating. 125 touchdowns to 45 picks and no Super Bowls. Here's Hurts. $51 million. He's 34-17. He's 2-3 in the playoffs. 91 quarterback rating, second lowest to Trevor Lawrence. 67 touchdowns to 34. By the way, he's the lowest touchdown number of anybody on this list, and he's 0-1 in Super Bowls. Kyler Murray has better numbers. 46-1. Or excuse me, 46 million. 28-36 and 0-1 in the playoffs, 92 quarterback rating, 94 touchdowns to 46 picks, 0 Super Bowls. And here's the insane Mahomes. $45 million. 74-22. 15-3 in the postseason, which is stupid. 103.5 quarterback rating. 219 touchdowns, 63 picks, and he's 3-1 in Super Bowls. What would you pay that guy? I mean, what would be the price tag that you would put on a guy like Patrick Mahomes? 100 million? 90 million? Like when the Kansas City Chiefs go to him and they have to reboot his contract, he makes $45 million. You know he's like 11th or 12th right now. Highest paid quarterbacks in the league. So when you go back and you negotiate with Lee Steinberg and you put a number on the table, I think you have to double that. I think you're looking at a guy that's probably an $80 million a year player. Got to be at least 80 million. I mean, all the rest of these guys don't come close to his numbers. Joe Burrow is really the only guy at 5-2. You're paid in the and for the record, none of these guys, not including except for Mahomes, none of these guys are paid off of what they've done in the postseason. Jalen Hurts is not paid because he went to a Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts was paid because of how he played in 22, not because he took a team to the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence is not paid because he's taking anybody anywhere. Jordan Love hasn't done anything yet. They paid him. I think Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts have a lot in common. One-year guys so far. I don't know what Jordan Love's going to do this year. I don't know what C.J. Stroud's going to do. Stroud looks to be a special ball player. He does. He looks to be a special ball player. Justin Herbert, you finally get a coach now in Jim Harbaugh. I think that's going to be interesting to watch. Lamar Jackson, dude, you got to win. Nobody cares what you do during the regular season anymore. I mean, you've won 2 MVP awards. The youngest to win 2 by the age of 26. Nobody has ever done that in pro football. And you're 2-4 in the playoffs. And the only thing that's stopping people from saying that guy is truly one of the greatest players in the game is because the postseason, just like with Josh Allen, the postseason is a doorstop to the conversation with these guys. No question. We're going to catch up with Xander here in a second. Okay? My point is, if you added up all these numbers here, let's do this, of the top 10 quarterbacks and the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and not using Mahomes, I'm going to show you this on what the record is. 1-1, 5-2, 6-3, 1-2, 7-5, 4-4, 2-5, 17, you've got a record 7 games under 500 for every one of these quarterbacks. Every one of these guys. Every single one of them. All right. Once again, though, I love what we're seeing with what's going on with training camp. And I love some of the position battles that we're going to be seeing here during training camp. Tomorrow they get the pads on. And make no mistake about it, the right guard position is going to be an essential part of what they're going to try to do when it comes to figuring out that position. Will Micaiah Becton now get the reps that people are wanting him to get? On top of that as well, I mean, the depth level there, Tyler Steen's going to be out. Cooper DeJean is hopefully going to be able to get himself back into a position where he's going to be able to contribute this year. We shall see. Again, working on getting Xander on here in the second here. Hopefully we're able to do that. And we're able
ready, Big Phils. I'm ready, brother.
Gotcha, big guy.
I don't think you can see me on your makeshift setup today.
No, I got you. I see you now. I got you.
Are you ready for me, or you want me to give you a couple minutes?
No. We're good. We're good,
right,
dude.
Brother.
No. Xander, let's do this, man. Some of your quick takeaways from the first week of practice and the first week of training camp for the Eagles.
I think it's great to hear what's going on with the offense. I know it's just training camp and you don't want to overreact, but the reality is you're going to learn one thing or the other, whether they look good or they look bad. And I think obviously it's a positive thing to have the offense looking good, especially coming off the OTA session. And you have a new coordinator. You know, you're coming off a bad end of the season last year. It's a very positive sign, I would say, to hear that Jalen Hurts is comfortable. He looks good out there. He's delivering the ball well. I heard some reports as well today. He looks healthier. He's moving around, but that doesn't mean he's running more. It just means his mobility looks better, and that's a very positive thing. So delivering the ball on time, on target, it really seems to be all good from an offensive side of the ball. I think the fear is that you're seeing some of the defensive side of the ball be, maybe that isn't as good, kind of what we feared a little bit. You obviously haven't learned much about the line with no pads on yet, but a lot of young talent, but how good is that talent going to be this year? I think that's a big question coming into the year. I thought it was positive today, Big Sills, you heard. I don't know if you were able to catch up with it with your internet being out, but Nolan Smith looked good today. He got around the edge a couple times. Jordan Davis blew up a couple plays on the inside. So those are the guys you really want. Like Jalen Carter, I don't need to hear that he looks good. Like I saw it, Jordan Davis, I need to hear it. Nakobe Dean, I need to hear it. Nolan Smith, I need to hear it. And you're hearing a lot of that. And then the other thing I would take away from camp so far is Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, you get a guy like Vic Fangio who says openly, I'm going to throw as much at these players as I can early and often. And, by all reports, Quinyon Mitchell has handled everything with ease, doesn't look like a fish out of water, comfortable, right side, left side, slot cornerback, clamped A.J. Brown, Big Sills. I mean, that's very positive to hear from your first-round cornerback. So, I don't want to be the, I'm not saying let's make a parade, make our parade plans, but definitely good things coming out of training camp so far.
Some takeaways from what Kellen Moore said on Saturday.
Not a whole lot. Go ahead.
Well, kind of in a way, he broached on some of the more important things. What was your takeaway when he said and asked the question about, when asked on protection, he said, it's going to be kind of a cooperation between everybody on the offensive line, and it's really going to come down between Cam Jurgens, and also it's going to come down to Jalen Hurts, which means you're putting more on the table for Jalen Hurts to have to absorb besides the new terminology, besides the new route trees. And some of the things that you say with that is, okay, is that more for Hurts or is that more for Jurgens? In my opinion, they're there to help Cam Jurgens more than Jalen Hurts because Hurts has been in there. He has seen it. That's a concern for me because if you've got a guy who can't make those signal calls yet, and you're going to do that with the relying of the quarterback, That's one thing Jalen hasn't had to do for 2 years, and now you're asking him to do that because you have inexperience at the center position. I think that's something to keep an eye out. Jurgens is not going to help Hurts. Hurts is going to help Jurgens until he gets acclimated.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I think they're going to, I mean, I hope they start to put more of that on Jalen Hurts because I think it will make him better in the long run. But it'll be interesting to see. You're right. I mean, how all that stuff plays out. But, you know, I don't know. That's one of those things you can't really tell until they get in the games and you see how they handle it. But, you know, I thought he said some other good stuff too outside of Cam Jurgens and you know, Jalen Hurts and the pass protections and all that stuff. But, you know, the Saquon Barkley comments I thought were pretty interesting, how he's going to use the running backs in the offense. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the mismatches, Dan. I love to hear that the mismatches he's creating with the wide receivers, right? I mean, before we ever heard Kellen Moore spoke, right here on this show, you were saying you should be moving those receivers around, putting them in the slot, giving them different looks, confusing defenses. And he echoed that a lot in a big way. So, and you're seeing it. You heard Avonte Maddox talk. He said, I've never seen this much movement with our wide receivers. We got Devontae in the slot, AJ. They're moving all over the field, and it's much harder to cover. And that's exactly what we wanted to hear. So I thought that was very positive. Wide receiver 3, he kind of had a couple thoughts on that, but nothing big. And then Grant Calcaterra sticking out as the tight end too is interesting too. And he made some comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, to your point on Barkley here, see, this is why I say this to you, Xander. When he's saying that Barkley is going to be kind of a week-to-week option, it creates great versatility versus opponents, which means this is why I was saying the other day, Xander, if you got a guy getting 950 yards and he gets you 10 touchdowns rushing and he pulls out another near 500 yards in receptions and you got 1,400 yards and you got a guy that's playing 14 games, let's say that number averages out to be 100 yards a game, you're going to get 100 yards and you're going to get 15 touchdowns. So you're going to get 100 yards a game out of your running back position in total offense and a touchdown a game. And he's not Devontae Smith or AJ Brown. What an added component to your offense. And what a mismatch that is when you're able to use him a lot like that. And I figure one of the things that he was talking about was trying to figure him on mismatches week in and week out. 1 week he might rush the ball more. The next week he might be more of a proficient pass receiver. And I think that's how his role is going to be defined this year. He's not going to be a bell cow back getting the ball 20 times a game. You know what I mean? He's going to be a guy, 1 week he gets 20, the next week he gets 7 carries, but he gets 8 catches for like 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know, I think it's going to go week to week like that.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, we don't need this is the NFL. I mean, you're going to have different opponents, different defenses, different looks, and to have a guy that's willing to be malleable and do different things with different players, I think is an important thing. I mean, that was part of our problem last year, right? I mean, you ran the same damn thing every time, no matter who you played, who was on the other side of the field, who was healthy. It didn't matter, and that cost us. So to hear that, I think is a positive thing from the coordinator for sure.
Absolutely. And what you were talking about with AJ and Devontae, and he was saying, as we said about the slot, you're going to see a lot of mismatches. And AJ and Devontae, they're going to be put in positions, and we're going to do a lot of movement. I got to tell you something. No disrespect to your co-host. Ben, I don't think he understands motion. I just don't think he gets it because you get it. And to me, when you put a guy like, hey, let me ask you this, Xander. If I put pre-snapped, I put A.J. Brown in motion to the right and to the strong side of the field. You're not going to send a guy out there to cover that guy?
I know.
And you're going to have a complete mismatch out there on the right side? You're telling me that doesn't help that play have more opportunity of success? I get John's talking about the end result of the play. I get it, but that's half of it. The reason why Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay and Andy Reid use motion is to put players in position to have that play have success or give it a chance to have success by creating easier routes and mismatches. And that's why I think I think they're replacing, Xander, the RPO with motion.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I think, I agree with you on motion, and John was a little bit too hell-bent on the results type of aspect of it. But I think where he really pushed back on me was it's not going to help Jalen read the defense, which is the big question on the quarterback. And, I think that's debatable too, because like you just said, if you move a guy out in motion and you see somebody follow him on defense, that tips the hand of what the defense is going to do. John disputes that and says that's not going to do anything. It's not going to help Jalen Hurts. That's his opinion. And maybe I am wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm okay with that. But there's no doubt that motion helps offenses. Look at the best offenses in the NFL. Every last one of them is using motion. And we were terrible at it last year. Now, where John is right is we won 29 games out of 32 or whatever, and we were bottom 5 in motion. So it's not like you can't be successful without it. But when teams adapt and
I think you become more predictable without it.
Well, and especially when you have a quarterback that's now been seen by the league. When the first 29 of 32 games of Jalen Hurts' career, he wins, but the next, 10 are bad. Well, it's because the league is going to adjust to him and his skill set and what he can do. And that's what makes the NFL hard. I mean, you have defensive coordinators studying everything he's doing. So it's an adjustment, and I'm okay. I'm good with it. I think the motion is going to be a great aspect. And by the way, we have great players for motion. It's not like we have stick figures out here. We have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. These are all guys who are going to flourish in that type of an offense. And to me, it's a no-brainer to use it often, and to do it, to make the most out of the mismatches you can create, for on the defense, on who's covering who on defense and offense. It's a big part of it. And I think it's going to be effective this year.
Think about it too. When John says that it doesn't help Hurts, well, I think that's not true either. And I'll tell you why. If I'm a quarterback and I see what motion does by moving a safety or a linebacker over, and I'm not proficient in reading defenses, doesn't that teach you as a skill set? Me moving that Y over, move that safety over there, and doesn't that help you in your progression and learning? Watching what motion does when it comes to your development of being a progression reader. If I move one guy here, or I move my head here, or I do this pre-snap, all of those things I think are fundamental tools that Kellen Moore is trying to put in the offense to help him be a progression reader. It's like this, Xander. They're putting those wide receivers in. They're giving him a crash course in how to read defense using motion to give him some keys. Look, if we move this wide receiver across the middle of the field, look what happens with the free safety. He follows. Well, what happens? You come backside on a slant pattern to Goddard, coming up the numbers here. All that stuff, I think, helps you in your development of reading because, I see what they're doing. Now I know why that guy does that. And it's not a deep third route. You have to have a smaller route. That's why you go to a 5-step drop instead of all those things, in my opinion. Motion helps, in my opinion, the development of your quarterback. He's right when it comes to the result. John's looking at the end result of the play. Well, hey, look at how many games they won. That's not how this league is, dude. Every single player has to adapt his game and has to adjust his game and has to evolve his game. And if you don't and you stay pat, you become Carson Wentz.
Absolutely. So I think you're spot on through and through about the whole thing. And I understand John's point, but that doesn't mean I agree with it. But I can understand it, and I'll respect his opinion on it. And I think it's a little short-sighted. I think it's lacking a lot of context, but that's all right. Teach his own.
Absolutely. A little bit on Nick today. And, to go back a little bit on Kellen and what you said, he spoke for 12 minutes. You think that was by design, not to put him too much out there and in front to let everyone have a runaway notion that, hey, guess what? Sirianni, I think that things are sounding better and looking better. You know why? Because he's less involved. I think that's why it seems that there's a good attitude out there right now. And to Nick's side of this, he's doing the things to make the environment successful, eating a little crow. Nick's got to do this. If Nick decides to eat a little crow, Xander, and he eats some pride in this, it could be beneficial to his long life as an Eagle head coach, and it could be to the success of the football team. He's got to eat some ego here. Sticking your head into fucking position meetings, it's just ceremonial. But if you stay out of the way and the players know that, but you're there for them to come to, and you're there to, if you have a problem, you're kind of creating another vehicle for him, and he's adapting into the CEO role. We'll see when things aren't going well, how it responds. But again, like I said, if we're going to go off the first 10 days, all right. I think he's doing all the right things is what I mean.
I do too. And I'm not, look, the team looks better and things seem to be, in a better spot than they were at the end of last year. And I'm not going to knock Nick Sirianni for that. I mean, I get what you're saying. Maybe it's because he's more removed and the coordinators have a bigger say. Maybe, but I'm not going to use that as an opportunity to say, oh, it's because of that. I mean, look, what happened last year was not obviously good. I think Nick recognized that, which is a good thing in itself. Most people's egos are too big to ever get to that point of recognizing that, a different role for themselves might benefit, and it's benefited. So I think it's a good thing for Nick. I mean, like I said before, if this team succeeds, Nick is not going anywhere. Whether he's a CEO, head coach, the offensive coach, if this team succeeds, he is not going anywhere. So he did something that hopefully helps the team this year, puts him in a better position to win more ball games. I think it did. And we'll see how it plays out. But I'm not going to knock Nick. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's handled the talking points and the what's going on since last year pretty well. I think he looks a lot more refreshed at the podium. I don't know if that's just me, but he doesn't have those big bags under his eyes. Like he kind of looks like a 40-year-old again, like or however old he is. He doesn't look like he's 15 years his senior. So I think that's a good thing, and hopefully Nick understands his role enough where he can be beneficial for the team this year. But we're like you said, we'll see when shit hits the fan, right?
Tyler Steen being injured and being out for a little bit, impact you think that has on the right guard position? They're going to say, Sirianni said this morning that Becton is going to get some looks over there at right guard, and they're going to start swinging guys in and out of there to see if they can cover that until he gets back. But there's another blow. You lose Cooper DeJean for a little bit. Now you're losing Tyler Steen, who you're counting on to man that right guard spot. Big loss there?
Impact on Tyler Steen is big. Impact on the right guard position is next to none. You know why? Because we haven't seen anything from Tyler Steen. So to say that we lost a guy or that our team is going to be worse is just premature. I mean, we might be better with Tyler Steen not being in there. We might be better with Mekhi Becton being the right guard. It's not like I lost Landon Dickerson and you're downgrading. Now, like I said, from a Tyler Steen perspective, yeah, you're going to want to get back out there as quick as you can, young man, because your job is not insecure yet, and it's tough for him. I mean, I'm not sold on him. We saw him in one game last year, and he got absolutely demolished. Really has never been a right guard in his career, so it's a big switch for him. Not as big, not as powerful, not as high of a caliber of a talented type of player like Mekhi Becton is, meaning, he didn't have that high draft grade, doesn't have that pedigree. And I don't know. I almost feel better about it because if Mekhi Becton is good enough to play right guard or he understands how to play the position, I would almost prefer him there. We need better pass blocking this year. And if you're telling me that Tyler Steen is going to be a better pass blocker than Mekhi Becton, I'd have a hard time believing that, especially on the inside.
I heard a couple players. I want to hit on a couple guys here. Boy, I'll tell you what, Xander, I had not heard Avonte Maddox talk. I like him.
He's good.
I really do. He sounds like a smart player, a team guy. He rocks with his teammates. He's there. He goes, I'll play any position you want me to play. I just want to do whatever I can to help my football team. The younger players have asked me questions. Obviously, it's all health with him. And he was asked a question. Avonte was saying, hey, man, I'll tell you what, I can't wait to watch what this offense is doing. These guys are moving people around more than any time I've ever seen, and that's going to be interesting to watch. And, again, this thing comes down to really his health, but I see why they brought him back and why they like him. Man, if they can get him on the football field for 14 or 15 ball games, what a massive deal that will be because he can play. And I like him on my roster. Again, he's paper mache, and I get it, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. I'm going to talk about another guy getting on the field here, but boy, I really like listening to him.
Yeah, but Dan, I hear you and I'm with you. But the knocks on Avonte Maddox have never been about who he is as a player, his smarts, or even his talent. He's quite frankly, when he was on the field for a while, he was one of the best slot cornerbacks in the entire NFL. But the guy can't stay on the field. And I hear you, but you're almost at the point with him where if you go into the season with him as your main option or as penciled in as a starter, you're setting yourself up for failure without a safeguard. And I think that's where the Eagles are with him. It has nothing to do with the player, the smarts, the talent. It's that he can't stay on the field. And like you said, paper mache. So it's never been about, him not checking all the other boxes. And that's part of it in the NFL. If you can't stay on the field, then you're not a good player. And he is a good player, but he can't, and he struggles to stay on the field. So the Eagles are looking at contingency plans. They're looking at Cooper DeJean. They're looking at other players who can play that position, even Quinyon Mitchell, because they just can't trust Avonte Maddox is going to be there when they need him the most. And that's what you need out of a player. Like you just said about the linebacker position. I'd rather take a guy off the street who I know I'm going to get 17 games out of than Nakobe Dean because he's never proven he can play on the field for 17 games. Same thing with Avonte Maddox. So that's the knock on him, and it's a completely fair knock.
Do you think that's why Bradbury's still on this football team, is that he played 1,051 plays? Is that Vic can count on him? Because at the end of the day, you got inexperience back there in the secondary. But here's my problem with Bradbury on the team. I mean, you've got every coach saying that the transition's almost impossible. You got the coordinator saying he doesn't think he can do it in so many words. You got, what's his name today, Nick saying, hey, he's going to get his role. He's going to get his opportunity. He's a heck of a guy. All coach kind of speak, which wasn't really any kind of cement or any kind of credence where you could put a foundation to, because he's just kind of just being positive. I look at Bradbury and I'm like, I just don't get it, man. I mean, are you going to go young and play the young guys? Or are you not? Are you nervous about the young guys? Why is this guy here still? And you're putting him in positions that you're taking reps away from guys who could be getting really quality reps. I'm still not getting that. Now, it's got to be, and maybe you disagree, it's got to be because they're not sold on the young guys yet. Why would he be here? What other reason would he be here? You're not trying to trade him. Stop with that. Not you. But you're not trying to trade him. You're not. Nobody's going to trade for a $12 million guy who was one of the worst graded guys in the league last year. Nobody is. They're going to wait for him to get cut. So you either don't believe in some of the young guys, not because they're not good, but because they haven't played yet, or you think this guy's going to have a bounce back and he's going to be an integral part. You're going to have a $12 million backup corner on your team, Xander? That's not Howie Roseman like. Xander, can't hear you, brother.
The one thing I think you're missing in your evaluation is Howie Roseman is a stubborn GM. And while I understand that it's plausible they're keeping him because they're not sold on the young guys, it's also very plausible to say that Howie Roseman overplayed his hand on James Bradbury, and now he's going to sit and wait and see how training camp progresses. I mean, Dan, look, the guy in Minnesota, obviously, rest in peace to the one guy who passed away, the cornerback. I'm blanking on his name. Shoot, I feel bad because he obviously just passed away. I'm blanking on the name if someone wants to help me in the chat. And then they also just lost another guy to a torn ACL early in training camp. That's two cornerbacks down on that roster. The LA Rams, they just lost a cornerback to an ACL. Look over in Dallas. They just lost Sam Williams, torn ACL today, out for the season. I mean, injuries happen a lot in camp. And the more those happen, the more valuable James Bradbury becomes to another team. I'm not saying they would do it and pick up the salary. I get it. But maybe there's a deal that's worked. I'll give you a 5th-round pick and you eat half his salary and we'll take the other half. Something like that. And I think Howie's holding on. Kyrie Jackson. Thank you, Mr. International. Sorry to, for him and his family. For me forgetting that name, I feel that's fucked up. But I think you can't overstate that. Howie might be waiting for that because he's stubborn. And part of that's what makes Howie good is that he's stubborn. But he's very stubborn, and there could also be a part of that is involved in this where they're holding on to Bradbury to get the prize, whatever that might be in the future, and it might never come. It might never come. And if that happens, then you're left with a decent player who, John's right. Vic Fangio might look at him and be like, if I'm playing the best guy available, he might be the best guy available.
I get it.
Yeah. So look, I mean, I hear you. Maybe they're not sold on the young players, and that's why he's here. But to be honest, I think it's more likely that Howie has been waiting, holding out, wanting to get something for James Bradbury. He hasn't gotten it yet, and he doesn't want to lose. Howie doesn't like losing, and that's a great trait, honestly, to have in a GM. It's a great trait to have for anybody that's a leader. They don't like to lose. And Howie doesn't like to lose. So I think he's holding on to Bradbury to try and get something out of him. Or they have other plans for him. Or you're right. It's one of the two.
Kobe Dean spoke. And I didn't realize this, Xander. He wasn't cleared to participate in any drills until the final week of minicamp. I mean, what's the point here? I mean, I don't get the point. I mean, so you're telling me that guy's going to be ready? Yes, he hasn't participated in anything the entire offseason except rehab. And he's going to go into minicamp or training camp here 4 weeks, and he's going to start versus Green Bay.
He's been out there.
Well, I heard him say he wasn't actually cleared until the final week of minicamp.
Yeah.
For him to be able. Now, he's been out this week. Yeah, so he's basically had 2 weeks of practice. And, I mean, that guy's going to be a starting dude against the Packers on September 6th? Shit, dude.
Well, why are you saying that?
Because I know how Howie looks at his draft picks.
Yeah, but Vic Fangio has rolled out Devin White and Zach Bond as your 2 linebackers every single time in practice so far. So I'm not – look, Nakobe Dean has gotten more and more reps each day with the ones. So I think he's going through a ramp-up period. There's been moments where they have a 1 linebacker look on the field, and Nakobe Dean's that linebacker. But I don't think Vic is just going to be like, okay, Nakobe's our linebacker, boom, roll it out. I think he's going to have different players for different looks. When you want a more traditional Mike in there, he's going to go with Nakobe. When he needs cover guys or guys that can get after the quarterback or, the Zach Bond types and the Devin White athletic types, I think he'll go with them. But I don't think they're sold on Nakobe Dean. I'm sure Howie probably is more than anybody, but I don't think Fangio is. I think Fangio is like, look, dude, you got to show me. And that's where we're at with him. I'm very close to being ready to move on from Nakobe Dean. I mean, it's like you said at the beginning of the show, and I agree. I don't want a guy that I can't build around. I can't build a defense around a guy that I have no clue coming into every year how many games he's going to play, if any at all. He's had 5 games, Dan, in 3 years.
You just can't build a depth chart, let alone
you can't.
You can't even build a depth chart.
You can't. And so we're going to see what happens, how it plays out. I thought it was interesting that they got Trotter in there, Ben Van Sumer. They're getting all these guys in there. And Fangio is treating that position like he has been the cornerbacks, where nobody's guaranteed. Everybody's getting reps with the ones, and he wants to see what he's got. So Nakobe said it today. I welcome the competition. I'm ready to earn my position on this football team. Well, good. You better go and earn it, because if you don't, you're not going to have it. And I think that's how they should be approaching this. Just because Nakobe Dean was this touted guy coming out of college and everybody was all jacked up that Howie got him in the 3rd round, that doesn't mean shit to me. What means shit to me is what you've done in the NFL and what you've done since you've been drafted. And that's a whole lot of nothing. Our linebacker play last year was putrid. To go into the season with him as your number 1 option and him as your plan to get better at that position, I think it's a dumb strategy. And to be honest, they haven't shown me that that's their strategy. There's been a lot more reports of Zach Bond and Devin White being your starting linebackers than there has been in Nakobe Dean. Now, maybe that's just because they're ramping them up, but just going off what I've heard, it doesn't seem like they're that sold on Nakobe Dean. They're more sold on Devin White.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that same feeling too. Xander, are you feeling more optimistic about the defensive side of the football after the first 10 days? And by the way, tomorrow's pads, there's gonna be more intel and there's gonna be more of a sample size, especially when you see the big guys going against one another. That's gonna know when practice really starts is tomorrow. Really, that's the first day of training camp tomorrow when you put the pads on, and you're gonna be able to get more of a sense. But are you feeling more optimistic about at least that side of the ball? See, to me, the offense, I think it's just got to work on just rhythm. It's got to work on identity. It's got to work on communication. This other side of the ball has to work on that plus other stuff. They had to work on talent. But are you feeling more optimistic?
I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic. I mean, what I'll say is I'm feeling more optimistic that the young players that we've acquired in the last couple of years, you know, Nolan Smith, Quinyon Mitchell, Keely Ringo, I'm feeling optimistic about their potential, and it seems like from what they've shown so far, they could be good players in the NFL. Where I remain fearful is how good are we going to be this year? Are you going to be a good enough defense this year to get us to a Super Bowl? Or is there going to be too many Band-Aids you have to rip off? Is there going to be too much of a learning curve? Is there going to be too much of a drop-off from your top guy like Darius Slay? Is the linebacker position going to be too putrid? Are Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis going to be able to pick up the slack? I think they are, but are they going to be able to this year? And that's where I remain fearful on defense, is that things look great if you're talking about 2025. Shit, they look phenomenal. But we got to play 2024, and that's where I remain fearful. But I think Vic Fangio is going to be a good coach. I think he's going to have the best chance to get the most out of these guys. I think so far they've responded well to his no BS style of coaching. I'm not trying to be your friend. It's the old line, and I use quotes from that. That's the only movie you'll ever hear me quote, by the way. I am not a movie person. I don't watch movies. My favorite movie is Miracle. I'll be your coach. I won't be your friend. If you want one of them, take it up with Dr. Coach Patrick. And that's the approach I feel like Vic Fangio has with these guys, where he's like, I don't really give a shit what you want from me. I'm going to make you a better football player. And if you don't like that, then you can go to the bench and sulk somewhere else. But that's my role. And I think he's taken that on strong, and that makes me more confident. But we'll see how it pans out this year. It's going to be a tough swing to say they're going to be top 15 with all these young guns. It really is.
Two last ones for you here. No mention of the RPOs in the Kellen Moore conversation. I mean, you know, what I've heard so far is read options, implementing Saquon more. I personally think this, Xander, that they have acquired Barkley to eliminate the RPOs. And there was something that he said, and I like it, on what he said, and this is Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore said this about how they're going to use Jalen Hurts in the run game. He says, we're going to take Jalen Hurts, and maybe it's going to look a little different, but we have to be smart with the ball with him. We have to figure out plays to utilize his strength and asset to where there's a moments in the game to be able to utilize. So I think they're going to design plays that are going to utilize the same way that they do the RPO in Kansas City, that it's going to be kind of in the toolbox for Mahomes when he needs to pull it out, that he can be able to pull those out when they need him in certain games. But Barkley is going to cover the majority of that, and that's why there's been more read option stuff. You know, if you watch some of the film and you watch some of the clips, you see them practicing that read option a lot. So to me, they're going to try to cover that with Barkley. I mean, that's just one of my takeaways, that there was just no mention of it. But you can cover that with motion, with read option, having designed run plays. I mean, it's really well thought out. My point is, it's not a rip. I think Kellen is trying to figure out how to maximize him to the best of his ability by not overutilizing that run game in him. Like, why would I run him 18 times? How about if I run him 8 times, get the same impact at 5 yards a carry, and yet Barkley carries the other weight in the other part of the mail, and he gets you the 10, 15 carries, but yet both these guys are averaging 5.5 yards a carry. So to me, that's how I see them being able to cover some of that RPO stuff up. Make sense?
It makes complete sense. And by the way, I like it because it's time. And this is what we talked about. One of our first things is it's time to make Jalen Hurts up more of he can play pro style. He doesn't have to every play, but he's capable of doing it. And if you rely on the RPO too long, while I think it has its benefits, I don't know if it's suitable for long-term in the NFL. And I'm okay with Kellen Moore doing that. By the way, let me answer one guy. I get called a communist. Nobody calls me a communist, Big Sales. You're not allowed to call me a communist in the chat. Shooter says, who doesn't watch movies? What are you, Xander, a communist? Shooter, when you stare at your computer screen for 12 hours a day, producing this knucklehead and talking about the Eagles all damn day, you don't get off and go and sit on the couch and turn on another screen. All right? You go outside and you do some shit outside. So don't call me a communist, Shooter McGavin. You don't know me from a can of paint. All right? As Big Sales would say. But back to the point on Kellen Moore. I think it's great because it's time to see Jalen Hurts get to that next step. And that's what, remember the comment I said, sink or swim. And I think he's going to swim, but it's going to look different than it did in 22. And I think that's okay. I think that's a good thing because if you can make Hurts with his skill set, be able to work some of these guys in, be able to get the ball over the middle of the field, and you keep the lethal weapon he has when you need it with the legs and with the extra player and the big playability when a play breaks down. Listen, I think that's a good thing, and I think that creates something that really would be tough to stop for a defense. So I'm fully on board with it. I love it, and I hope it works. That's the thing. I mean, it has to work, but I don't think the RPO long term is the right approach for even a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. I really don't.
Last question for Comrade Kraus.
Yeah, Shooter. He's like, I found the trigger point. That's professional trolling. Shooter, I'll give you that. That is exactly how trolling works. So I'll give you that, brother. But don't call me a damn communist, Shooter.
Damn, Shooter, you called him a comrade.
Unbelievable, Phils. Because I don't watch movies. Most movies are propaganda anyway, and they stink, half of them.
Finally here. Hey, man, I really love the fact that Kellen Moore's talking about wide receiver 3 being part of the implemented offense and the attack. He said this, just because you're wide receiver 3, that doesn't mean you're not going to line up wide. Where in the last 2 years, if you were wide receiver 3, Xander, you were in that slot and that was your identity of you being in that Quez Watkins slot. That's not going to happen now. They're moving. You could see AJ in there. You might see one of these new young kids out there on the wide, out there on the perimeter. What I'm saying is it gives you more balance. And if I'm a defensive guy, I'm like this thing. Tell me what you're hearing so far is what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. Wow. When I watch the Eagle offense line up for the first time, this is not going to look anything like it did a year ago. There's movement, there's motion. Guys are lining up in different positions. There's a different style that they're moving these guys around in. When you're a defensive guy, there's nothing predictable now from what I'm hearing. Now, again, you have to implement it in games to see if these guys are doing this, but the comrade quote is getting to you. I could see it already, Xander. But do you agree? I mean, this is going to look completely different to teams, and you're not going to see the predictability that you saw a year ago.
100%. And I think it's a good thing. Like I said, I'm excited to see how Kellen does. But Dan, I really think he's the right coordinator for this team. I know I sound like an Eagle homer, but what's that?
It seems.
What I'll say is when you look at what happened last year, and you look at a team that looked like that down the stretch, when you look at that offense, you're like, that's not just play calling. Like something went wrong here. That isn't just play calling. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Scott, a top 5 O-line. Jalen Hurts, who's been playing great ball since he elevated his game. DeAndre Swift. You're like, something's off here. And when you bring a guy in who has a lot of experience in a different type of an offense, it's a fresh set of eyeballs. He seems like he's really going to work this offense together. And to the point on wide receiver 3, you're spot on. I mean, you're moving these guys around. They're going to have a bigger role. But the other thing is that doesn't mean that they're going to get 80 catches, right?
No,
it just means catch the damn ball when it's thrown to you, and be able to run a route and do the things you need to do to keep the defense on their heels. And I think they'll be able to do that.
See, that's exactly what your last comments on it. You're making them part of the team. Where that wide receiver 3 wasn't part of the team, and if you lost your tight end, I'm glad to hear the things that they're saying about Grant, because last year Grant in the second half of the season, I thought he was a non-factor. That guy's had a great offseason because he's now made a stamp with those coaches where they see him as an important part of tight end 2. That's a good thing, especially when you got a veteran guy back there that you thought was going to come in here and solidify that tight end number 2. He's had a really great offseason so far. So what they're going to do is make that tight end position, I think, more of a focal point. And like you said, it's not that you're going to see 50, 60, 70 targets or catches come out of that wide receiver 3 spot. However, if I'm a defensive lineman or if I'm a linebacker, I've got to account for it now. Last year, I didn't have to account for it. They only had 36 catches. I'm not concerned about that position. Now, if I see, whoa, there's AJ there. What's AJ doing there? Shit, I got to slide back over now again. That's pre-snap stuff in alignment. So alignment in motion, the offense is going to look completely different. And when you go into the games, I know by now, Xander, that Hurts struggled a little bit because it might have been the same plays of a year ago. What they did was they just renamed them.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where he is now. And the terminology he's caught up with, because I'm hearing it smooth. He's got command of it. He knows exactly what he's doing here. It's going to be interesting. Tomorrow they put the pads on, and we're going to find out a little bit more. Encouraging also about how Vic is talking about Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, how these guys are looking, running around out there. I want to see Jordan at the nose. I want to see how he's – by the way, too, I would line him up and beat the piss out of Cam Jurgens every single practice because I got to have Cam Jurgens ready. You put that 350-pound guy on him and you beat that guy up, let me tell you something. That will be the best litmus test for him as he gets ready for Green Bay. Great stuff, brother. I appreciate it, man. Great stuff.
Appreciate it, Big Sills. Any update on your internet? You all good? Your show's going good. The phone is holding strong. Just want to make sure you're all good over there, and you can finish strong here. Another hour and 50 to go in the show.
Hey, listen here. As soon as I find out what we're doing here with the net, and I'm so happy that we're able now to always have like a backup plan. We'll get more to the comments. We'll reset. Don't forget to catch Xander. Birds 365 each and every single morning. You doing anything tonight?
No, nothing tonight. No,
nothing tonight. Tomorrow morning, normal show?
Tomorrow morning, I'll be live. John, we'll have a late night edition of Birds 365 tomorrow after the show with practice. Johnny Mack has some things going on tonight, so he's unable to do tonight. But I will be back live in the morning. Hopefully, I can get John for a brief interview again this morning to preview, and then we will be back live again after practice. So a lot of great content going on right now, Big Sills. A lot of numbers, a lot of views. We appreciate everybody making the show, the channels grow, and we can't thank you guys enough. But big day of content coming up tomorrow.
Absolutely. Guys, hit the like button. Xander, we'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. That's my man right there. He's a non-comrade, too. Now you know how to get to Xander by calling him a comrade. Not good. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
At home, baby. That's how you power through things. Right there. That's how you power through it. Way to go, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. Way to go, man. Back on the tube. Great stuff, man. Great stuff, man. My phone was blowing up too, man. By the way, it's as hot as a coal right now. So I don't think that thing had too much longer there. Howie trying to ask a favor. Gavin Newsom shut down Big Sales' internet. Hey, DFW, we got it back up. Well, at least right now it's back up. Back to normal, Ernesto. Absolutely. I respect everyone and every team. Not me. Not everybody's created equal. That's a fascist and communist mentality, my good friend. Hey, red wine? No. Not every organization is created equal. It's not. Okay? By the way, please hit the like button. You guys are awesome. We're back over on Twitter. People are jumping aboard with us as we speak right now. We'll reset everything. We're still trying to run down our friend Gary Cobb, hopefully at 4:30, and all that you guys were saying here. Outstanding. Patriots hated Belichick's roster move so much that they just extended everybody. Hey, Dexter, nobody hated anything Bill Belichick did in New England. Nobody hated anything. It resulted in 6 Super Bowl titles. Everything he did. Nobody hated anything that he did in New England. Matt, thank you, my friend. Shooter calling Xander a communist? Come on, Shooter. Then why move on, Dexter said. Things run out of gas. Bill Walsh, Chuck Noll, Dan Reeves, Marv Levy. Those jobs aren't Supreme Court hires. You run out of gas. A coach doesn't have a lifetime. Even George Halas lost. Don Shula lost. Tom Landry lost. Happens. These are not lifetime appointments. And plus, again, it comes down to the Jimmies and Joes. It just comes. Andy Reid in Philly. Nicely done there, Fly. What happened to Andy Reid? Andy Reid's winning more now than he did in Philly. Was he a bad coach? No, he's got Patrick Mahomes now. That's what he has. Okay, I mean, it comes down to personnel. Dude, winning in the NFL, agreed. Coaching matters. Yale goes that Andy was burnt out in Philly. So he was burnt out in Philly, but he relit the torch in KC with Alex Smith? Is that right? Is that what you're saying, Yale? How did Andy Reid light the torch with Alex Smith in Kansas City? I don't think Andy Reid ever burnt out in Philly. I think ownership burnt out on Andy because Andy's no different. He's just got Patrick Mahomes now. Andy Reid went on and became better with the Chiefs and got rings. Well, Mahomes helps that. Mahomes, he does help that. Hey, Charlie, Vermeil is an example of working and overworking yourself and doing too much. He is. Yeah. Andy was done in Philly, but then he relit a torch in KC. I don't know. How many times have you seen people do that? They were fired in one place, go on and win a Super Bowl in another. Let's take a look at that. Tony Dungy. Andy Reid. Mike Shanahan was fired with the Rams, or the Raiders, I mean. Right? We made Andy who he is today. And yes, Andy definitely burnt out in Philly. I don't think these coaches get burned out. I think they just get worn out. Bill Walsh always said that he thought that an NFL coach basically had a 9-year window. And that's why he didn't stay past the decade in San Francisco. John Gruden didn't win John Gruden became the Buccaneer head football coach. Let's see. Yeah, he left the Raiders. He left the Raiders and went to the Bucs and won a Super Bowl. Okay? I feel very sorry for the Cowboy fans losing Sam Williams as an Eagle fan. I want to face them full strength. Prayers to Sam Williams, Dan Sileo. Hey, red wine. Why would you say that? If a football team loses a player, great. Great. Least amount of resistance for me to win a Super Bowl. I mean, nobody in a million years would look at Sam Williams and go like this. Hey, I'm really glad he's hurt. Now we don't have to face Dallas at full strength. Nobody talks like that. But at the end of the day, hey, that's one less guy I got to worry about. I'm good with that. Dude, you got to be a little heartless in this. I have sympathy for them. I have none. They wouldn't have sympathy for you if you lost Jalen Hurts. You think Cowboy fans are going to go, gee, I'm really sorry that Jalen Hurts got hurt? No. Believe me, they hope your A.J. Brown gets injured. This is sports, my friend. This isn't, hey, red wine, I love you have empathy. But this is not, this is sports. Well, the guy gets hurt. Good. Good. It's one less guy I got to worry about. Are you happy he's hurt? Of course. Yeah, right. Who would think that? No one's happy he got hurt, but he got hurt. It's part of the war of attrition that I talk about every day. The war of attrition is part of football. So it's part of the conversation. Seals, I don't underestimate the effect that the Philly media has on a player or coach in Philadelphia. You get built up and then crushed. You get built up and then you get crushed. You do. Yeah, every fan base does that act when they act like they want to play a full strength 90%. People, they're all full of shit. I actually believe wine, though. Hey, shooter, nobody goes like this. Hey, I really wish that I could play the Cowboys at full strength. You know, so that it would be really a great competition. Fuck talks like that. I want to play you when you're down as you can be, as injured as you can be, so I can put an ass beating on you. Dude, too much empathy in that. This is sports. I never understand that, Sills. I have zero sympathy for any opposing team's people. Are so soft these days. Hey, Marshall, you don't wish it. Nobody wishes Dak Prescott to get hurt. I don't. But if he gets hurt, good. Sills, that sounds so cold. The war of attrition is part of football. Injuries are part of it. If it wasn't, oh, that guy got hurt, that sucks. Look, when a tennis player gets hurt like Rafael Nadal and he can't play in the French Open, that sucks. That totally sucks. But when you got a football player and you got players getting hurt, a corner gets hurt, a safety gets hurt, you don't have to play against Lane. Hey, here, get this. Some of you in here are like this. Hey, I hope I get a chance to play against Lane Johnson at full strength. Fuck that. I want the third backup guy in there so I can run circles around him. Yeah, but you're not playing against the best. Who cares? Who cares? Don't care about that shit. It sucks that Sam Williams got hurt, but it's next man up. That's right. It's part of the game. This is where your depth gets tested. That's where your general manager also earns his paycheck. Part of the game. Old saying, pain and injury are in the contract. I love that. Way to go, Charlie. Charlie, you're damn on and dead on with that. When you listen, the way I talk to you is the way organizations think. Sam Williams got hurt. You think every team in the NFC East right now is going to be doing this? Cowboys are going to be going looking for an edge rusher. The Eagles need some depth at edge. You don't think the Eagles are going to want to get ahead of somebody? Why do you think a guy like Rashad Penny was on the Eagles last year? Let me give you – what do you think why Rashad Penny was on the roster last year? They were afraid Dallas was going to sign him. Even though he was a non-factor, they didn't want the Cowboys to get him. Here's the positions on the Cowboys. You don't want them to sign a wideout. You don't want them to get another defensive tackle in the middle. Okay? And you don't want them to sign a running back. Because those are all strength. Those are all places of weakness that the Cowboys have right now. Big Marshall, appreciate it, brother. Thank you again. Hey, by the way, thank all of you guys for coming aboard. People are popping in on Twitter now and all our platforms, and we appreciate it. I knew Lane wasn't Natty. Lane's a great football player, bro. I don't wish Mark can't make it on Wednesday, but if he happens to can't make it, oh well. Yeah, okay. Dude, yeah, hey, when I got a football team, like when I'm getting ready to play against a team, hey, their top guy's not in. Great. Easier day for me to get to the quarterback. Least amount of resistance. Gives me the best formula for success. I don't give a shit about that stuff. I want to hit on something before we move on here and talk a little more Eagles here. So Deshaun Watson is getting heat from Mike Freeman. Let me ask you something here about him. Deshaun Watson. I personally don't like Mike Freeman because he makes race into everything. Deshaun Watson was asked a question yesterday morning about his time, and Mike Freeman went off USA Today columnist and said, this guy just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He doesn't know where he is. And you talk about a guy consistently making an asshole of himself, Deshaun Watson is. He was asked the question, and Deshaun answered it honestly. What do you make of the last couple of years and how people perceive you? He goes, well, I've got to circle the wagons. And by the way, I'm paraphrasing. And he goes, all the negativity and all the negative words and all the things that were said, I've got to have a small circle around me, and all the people that were throwing negative stuff at me, I've got to be able to be stronger and be a leader on this football team. There was a lot of negative stuff that I needed to overcome, and Mike didn't like the answer. You know what Mike wanted him to do? Mike wanted him to basically beg for forgiveness on what happened in Houston. Deshaun Watson owes you no accountability for that, because the NFL's not asking for any accountability. He owes Mike Freeman and nobody a conversation. He goes like this: there were over 25 women with complaints of sexual harassment. Mike, he owes you nothing, because the league reinstated him and gave him a raise. Who are you? You want Deshaun? By the way, if you want to make a statement, kick him out of the league for life. Mike wants to relitigate things. Do you feel sorry today compared to what happened 2 years ago? That shit's in the rearview mirror, Mike. He's trying to move on from that stuff. Nope. Guys like that are assholes. Plain and simple. Seals, are you defending Deshaun Watson? Yeah. Are you defending Deshaun Watson from his actions? No. National Football League has to do that. And they did it. They gave him a raise. They reinstated him. And he's the face of the Browns. You could say whatever you want, what I just said to you, and go, damn, dude, you're defending. The league defended him. The league defended him. But Mike and these reporters want you to be and fall in line and be contrite. I don't owe you any of that. He wants him to go and say, I was really a bad guy, and I'm really sorry about everything. 3 years after the fact. Hey, Mike, fuck you. It's in the rearview mirror. National Football League just gave me $230 million in guaranteed salary. I owe you nothing. I owe the Browns wins. I owe the Brown fans wins. That's all I owe them. These reporters are ridiculous. Guys like that they're not very good at what they do. It's old news. It's total old news. That's right, Yale. Deshaun wants to focus on winning. Mike wants to focus on some shit that happened 3 years ago by putting a column out yesterday and going, he still doesn't get it and he's a fool. Mike, he's not a fool. He wants to move on from it, but you don't. This is the stuff where reporters today, whether it's the news media or whether it's sports media, they like to relitigate things from 20 fucking years ago. And what they'll do is they don't let go because what they have is an easy target instead of just moving on. It's ridiculous, actually. It really is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Exactly. The players owe you wins, nothing more, nothing less. Doesn't matter if they're Gandhi or some asshole like Jalen Carter. Dude, shooter, go win games. I'm not asking you to marry my daughter. Okay, and right, Yale, rat poison. That's exactly what Saban says. I wanted to make this point because it's like the Reuben Frank's comment to Jalen Carter. Do you feel sorry for what happened to the people in the Georgia program? No, he loved the fact that somebody died probably. What kind of stupid question is that? He was there 4 years or 3 years, whatever Jalen Carter was. You think he's sad? He's not sad somebody died? It blows my mind. It blows my mind how people relitigate things. Sil says, I'm not asking you to marry my daughter. I'm not. I'm asking you to go play football and win. You're not my buddy if you play on the Eagles. You're somebody that represents my football team. And if the owner feels fit and the league feels fit to have you in an NFL uniform, what's it to you? What's it to you? I don't get how some of these guys get press credentials. Is freaking a mystery. Damn, dead on. It's because guess why? Look at Howard Eskin's a great example of it. Howard weathered through the pain. I wish I could have done this. Hey, yeah, and I heard him. It was this. I heard him on WIP this past weekend. Here was Howard Eskin. Yeah, I know, I've apologized and I said I was sorry. I've said it numerous times. This is really all I'm going to say, and I'm not going to comment anymore. Oh, that must be nice just to blow something off like that. I wish I could. But when you got the power of the Eagles behind you, you get to blow through that shit. And when your kid, Spike Exkin, and you got the power of WIP behind you, and Bob Lang and all them guys, I guess it's easy just to go like this. Don't ask me any questions about it. Fuck you. Let's do a sports show. Really? So when something happens like that on a football team with sexual misconduct, or any athlete that has sexual misconduct, where's the line that Howard crosses? How do you comment on that? That's why when somebody asks me when there's a race issue, Sills, you said something really, I go, no, I totally made a mistake. Poor judgment of words. Okay. Yeah. Poor judgment of words. I that's why I don't run from it. People talk to me all the time about something that went on 15 years ago. And that's why I continually say, I said something on the air 15 years ago. It's just poor words. You can't run from that. It's like knocking statues down. Denying your history. Did you say the shit about Aaron Andrews? Yeah. Yes. Then a guy like Eskin is the exact type of guy to ask bullshit questions like the one they asked Watson. Yeah, and get this. He's got no accountability in his own career. But yet he'll ask an accountability question to an athlete. What? If you can't be accountable for your own actions, how do you ask accountability questions to an athlete? How can that possibly be something that you really take seriously if you're a listener or a consumer or an advertiser? You have to have accountability for the things that have gone great in your life, and you have to have accountability for things that have gone sideways in your life. That's what a true talk show is, and a true talk show host. If you're on as long as I've been on, for over 34 years, you say things and things have happened in your career. You can't run from them. You have to make it part of your dialogue. And you just can't. Don't really like Seals, but it's pretty clear he's not a racist. Ryan, thank you. Ryan, you know what's funny about those comments that people made? Anytime you read them on the internet, and everybody I've ever worked with, they've all gone like this. Why do they rate those things? Because they can. Because they can. And they think that I'll hide from it. Never happened. I don't hide under my desk. I just don't hide from anything. And nor should you. Yes, Dan, we want a talk show. Not a fucking dork journalist talking about his so-called facts. Facts? I don't have any facts. You know what I have? Opinions. My opinions sometimes come off like I'm talking like they're facts, but I have opinions. I am an opinionist. Plain and simple. Okay? I have an opinion. Sil's always invited to the barbecue, a real one. Jameson. Man, ribs? Man, my wife can make some damn ribs. I'll tell you something, Jameson. Xander might know this. So my first time having some of the best ribs in my entire life, we went and played a ball game when I was in the World League in Birmingham. And outside of my hotel, outside of Legion Field, was this guy who had this oil barrel, had 3 of them. Hang on, Jameson, you're going to love this. This guy had coals in there, and he was cooking these ribs. So we went down there. He had this barbecue sauce. He put this stuff in aluminum foil, closed the thing, let it sit there and simmer. That shit fell right off the bone. This is right outside of Legion Field. I was very thrilled to play one of the most legendary stadiums of all time, Legion Field. Xander, I don't know if you've ever been to Legion Field, but man, playing at Legion Field, this guy's cooking that barbecue. It was unbelievable. Damn, my mouth was watering. It was so damn good. Thank you, James Jones. I appreciate that, man. Awesome. Stills, come hang with me all day in the hood. But leave Mark Ass in mom's basement. Hey, Big Marshall. All good, man. Hey, the only thing, man, I can't do. Hey, Dan, can't wait for the Pats tomorrow. Khalid, I can't either. Hey, Marshall, one thing, though, man. Please do me a favor. If you take me to some soul food place, I can't eat the chitlins, man. My cholesterol goes up. I never knew what they were. They were stuffed intestines, and I eat this stuff with Luther Campbell and with Jerome. Man, I'll tell you what, they stunk like you could not believe. Holy shit, did they stink, but I ate them. Loved them. I'm not real big on greens, though. Okay, I'm not. On 55th Street, Crib, Big Marsh. Love it, man. Tried tip is great. If you cook and cut right, oh, God. Man, I didn't like Southern food. Dude, that Tuscaloosa, man. No, excuse me, Birmingham. That had some damn good rib places, man. Unreal. Unreal. Unreal great places. We're going to reset at the top of the hour here. Where else here? Cowboys. We're going to reset the Eagles at the top. Cowboys. So Jerry Jones this week, or past week, is in court fighting a paternity case. Turns around now, next couple of days, he's going to be in a courtroom fighting this NFL Sunday ticket thing. Working on contracts. Loan folks with the pork sales. So you good. Yeah, like it. Marshall, damn. Look what the Cowboys are doing. Talking contracts and in a courtroom. Done nothing in free agency. Where are you going? Where are you going? The Cowboys this year have to be the bigger train wreck of any year I've seen in the last 15, 20 years. The Eagles are talking about finding a way to implement wide receiver 3. They're talking about their young corners. They're talking about their young players on defense. They're talking football conversation. What are their coordinators going to look like this year? And the Cowboys are in a courtroom with their owner for 2 separate cases, and they're dealing with contracts. And you got a guy in Michael Parsons who I'm not sure really wants to be I don't know what he is, but he's clearly not focused on being the best possible player he can be. You got CeeDee Lamb not wanting to be in camp because he wants to be paid $40 million. This guy thinks he's better than Justin Jefferson. Or his mentality is, I'm the next guy up. I should make more than him. No, you shouldn't. You're not better than him. If I were the Dallas Cowboys, I'd move one of these guys. And it wouldn't be Dak. I'm not moving Dak Prescott. What's my alternative? I'm 90 years old. What are the Cowboys' alternatives? Shedeur Sanders for a 91-year-old guy next year? Why? You need to win now. I'm trading CeeDee Lamb. You know who I'm trading him for? I'm going to call up the Raiders and go, give me a couple players, including Max Crosby, so I can put him on the other side of Parsons. And you can have CeeDee Lamb. You can have CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Adams, and you can have Aiden O'Connell throwing them the ball, or Gardner Minshew. Okay? I'm trading him to New England, CeeDee Lamb, so I can get top picks. This is why this city needs you and Xander. Y'all don't sugarcoat and have your own opinions. Yeah, because my opinions are not, I don't have to write. Get this, Sean. In Philadelphia, if you're a talk show host on WIP, you've got to run your opinions through Bob Lang to see if those opinions will be okay to go on the air. Okay? Your opinions have to be vetted before you go on the air with them. You just can't have a random opinion about Nick Sirianni or about the owner, about some of the things that the head coach does or doesn't do. You can't. Dallas is tanking for Sanders. I'm not drafting Shedeur Sanders. Okay? I was late to Friday show, Sills, but I appreciate your take on Mike Tomlin. Dude, I love Mike Tomlin. He's my favorite coach in the league. But you haven't won a playoff game in 7 years. I mean, you're lowering the standard. Okay? You're lowering the standard to now where in Pittsburgh, if you don't have a losing season, that's a winning year. That standard doesn't sit in Philly. Okay? That doesn't sit in Philly. 1-3 is an underachieving thing. In other words, you're a corporate sheet, not a real talk show host. I'm not sure what you're talking, GI. I have my own opinions. I don't vet my comments through anybody, and I don't give a shit what you think of them. Imagine they take for him and bring in Dion to replace Mike McCarthy, the story and hype that would drive. Hey, Sam, that would be nothing but a total Cowboy awesome move, but it wouldn't result in winning. As a matter of fact, I think Deion Sanders, personally, I think that thing up in Colorado's a shit show. They're not relevant. It's not a relevant football program. You got to win more than 4 games to be relevant, don't you think? Well, Sills, they won 1 game before. Okay, well then let's see if you can get 8 wins. Let's see if you can build a program up first before you start asking for all the rewards before you build a program. You know, Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe his first year. Am I right, Xander? Is that what that was? His first year, Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe. They didn't think that Nick Saban was the right guy in Alabama. Imagine losing to Louisiana Monroe. Those games are roadkill today for that program. He lost to Louisiana Monroe in his first year. And all the faithful in Alabama are going, is this guy the right guy? Holy shit. Okay, hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there. They were questioning Nick Saban. But what you're doing is rewarding Dion for winning 4 games. Think about the difference. Saban almost got fired after his first year at Alabama. Almost got fired. 2 years later, he wins a national title. Then he starts getting all the accolades. That's a coach building a program, not a coach building his reputation. I take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts every day and twice on Sunday. Allen doesn't have the team around him that Hurts does. Most definitely, Debbie. He's without a question. And nobody on the planet outside of Philadelphia would ever take Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. It's just not happening. Hurts is a good player, an above average ball player that's got a lot of learning to do still. And remember something, if you can give Jordan Love a contract, or you can give him a $50 million deal based off of 1 year, you can't sit there and go, guy only had 8 games. Well, quite frankly, you only had 1 year too. Okay? Jalen's only had 1 season. The other one was decent last year, not good enough. And the year before that, well, it was a rookie quarterback year. Give him the benefit of the doubt. The only thing I can hang my hat on is 22. That's not 2 years ago. That's why 24 will kind of define him. We'll define him. It will. Big Seals, I hear Ringo been lighting it up. Hurts only had 1 good season. Look at his tape now, not improved. Well, James, I like what I'm hearing so far. And again, I know I'm not going to put $1 trillion on what I'm hearing. I'm not going to go nuts here. So I get it. But let's see tomorrow when they put the pads on. Where is Miami at? They need to return to power college football is rocking when there was in power. Disciple. Here's exactly what happened to the University of Miami. They stopped recruiting the inner city kids. They stopped recruiting the kids that were in dire need of hope. They stopped recruiting the inner city African-American kids at Overtown and Liberty City because they were afraid that the university didn't like that look in Coral Gables, in white Coral Gables. Howard Schnellenberger and Jimmy Johnson and Dennis Erickson recruited those players. The university didn't like that type of black player at Miami. Inner city, not a lot of money, bad look, came from gangs. They didn't like it. And that's when they opened up the door for Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, A&M, because they gave them hope. Recruiting suburban black kids is not what made Miami. Inner city black kids are what made the University of Miami. Hope. I played with kids either were going to jail, being killed, or going to National Football League. Those were their options. And it was real. Ain't no bullshit. There was nothing but realness to it. It's realness. Dude, I'm not, like I told you some of this before, I'm not going to name names, but I know people who sold drugs at night, caught touchdown passes on Saturday day. It was real life. Brothers shot and killed in Overtown. Dude, you ever been to Overtown in Liberty City? You'll know what I'm talking about. That's what made Miami great. Kids with no options. Same with me, man. No options. You're either going to the Army, you're going to work on the fishing boat, or I don't know. Football is all about adjustments and evaluating. Let's see Jalen adjustment to how defenses started playing him. That'll be a key factor to this, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of motion. And I think that's why you're seeing Barkley being implemented a lot. North Philly, I got it. Okay? Absolutely. Liberty City, GTA gets active in the streets. True. Absolutely, man. Camden, New Jersey, another place. That's where Ironhead's from. Ironhead is one of them guys. Came from a tough background. Loved me some Ironhead. Seals, the game gets easier when it slows down, and it slows down with reps. Having a strong camp can build confidence, but passing lanes close quickly when the games count. Bob, it's a great take. Bob, I'll tell you this. In the National Football League, windows are this big. In college football, they're as big as the screen. Okay? They're wide open. Pro football, they're this wide. The margin of error is so small because everyone is so big and so good. Stills, Allen or Purdy? Allen. All day long. All day long, Allen. Dan, do you think Kellen Moore had influence on picking Barkley? No. I don't think Howie asked anybody for their input on personnel. I do not believe that at all. I think it's their analytics people, and I think that they are 100% sold on the convictions of how they look at athletes and how they pick players. Absolutely not. I think they get an idea of what type of position they need. So they'll go to the position coaches. I'll take that back. I probably think they asked Stoutland. Okay? Because Stoutland has had so much success with the guys that they probably asked Stoutland a little bit when it comes to picking the type of talented offensive lineman that they bring into Philly. Marshall goes, that's my hometown, Canton, New Jersey. It's rough up there. Absolutely, man. I know a lot of folks from up in that neck of the woods, man. Marshall, got to have your head on a swivel, don't you, man, when you're in them places? Okay? Got to have your head on a swivel. Never know what's coming up from the side, the back, the front. Okay? Seals, is it true Steen got injured? Yes. Micaiah Becton is getting reps over at the right guard position. What is more likely, Kellen stays in Philly after a good season or Kellen gets a head coaching job and Nick remains? Shouldn't Nick learn his system and philosophy so he can eventually call plays again? Sam, I don't want him near anything when it comes to play calling. Here, let me show you something here. I brought this list up, and we did it earlier. By the way, I want to thank you guys one more time. Some of our good friends over on Twitter have now jumped aboard with us here, so we really appreciate it. And all the platforms, Facebook, and obviously our YouTube channel, so we completely appreciate it. But here's going to be your offensive head coaching candidates. PFF came up with the top 10 coordinators. We brought them up earlier. Ben Johnson's going to get a job. Detroit Lions, OC. He's going to get a head job somewhere. Todd Monken is probably not. Why do you think Todd Monken is not going to get a head coaching job? Why would you think Todd Monken in Baltimore will not get a head coaching job? Style of play. How many dual threat guys are in the league like that? Indianapolis, Philly, Baltimore. Where else? Where's there another dual threat guy like that? Pittsburgh? You're not replacing Tomlin unless you're putting Justin Fields in there. Todd Monken doesn't have an Todd Monken is not going to be there's no New York. Where's there a dual threat quarterback in New York? Daniel Jones is not going to be in New York at the end of this year. And Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. There's no dual threat guy. Dan Lombardi would have been let go after that collapse. How in the world is Nick still there? Get him out of the building now. Let's see what happens in the first month of the season. Arizona, dual threat. That's another place. That's another place. It is. Is Becton a difference maker? Jeff, he's got to stay healthy. No, I see 31-7. Still, success by Moore will just shine more light on the fact that Howie does not cultivate young coaches. losing a successful coach on a young team can be deadly. Well, if you're referring and referencing Steichen, yeah, the loss of Steichen completely, at the end of the day, it did a disservice to Jalen Hurts' development. It completely did. Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and Jeffrey Lurie were part of the non-development of Jalen Hurts last year. It's their responsibility and why he didn't get better. You blame him and them for them putting incompetence in there. Hey, by the way, even if they had put anybody in there with any kind of knowledge of being a coordinator, would have helped. But they put a guy in there that never called a play in his life. I mean, I don't know where you go from one extreme to the other. That's what makes me nervous. There's no consistency with the type of coaches they hire. And except for this, they don't like hiring former NFL head coaches. Now, Vic Fangio is a former NFL head coach. Okay? He's a former NFL guy, coached the Denver Broncos. Angela's told you this multiple times. Lurie controls the coaching staff, but you want to blame Howie. Lurie controls the coaching staff through Howie. Yeah. Okay. So all the assistant coaches. So Brian Johnson was a coach that was hired by Jeffrey Lurie. You think he interviewed him? Howie's the middleman. Howie's Jeffrey Lurie's mouthpiece. He's the guy that goes and does the things that they agree on. Hey, we're going to hire this guy. We're going to hire that guy. The drafting comes down to Howie. Can you imagine how much power Howie has in that building going into this year? Pick the coaching staff, pick the players. I'm very shocked with this Vic Fangio thing, though. I won't lie to you. How did he land on Vic? Was that forced down? Does Vic Fangio look like a Howie Roseman type of hire? So to some of your points on what you said with Angelo, to your point, was that a Jeffrey Lurie hire? Yeah, what do you think? Was Vic Fangio a Jeffrey Lurie hire? Yeah. Vic Fangio was a Jeffrey Lurie hire. I don't believe Howie would have hired that. This guy's coming out publicly saying already, Bradbury has no shot at being a safety. By the way, the guy that you signed, right now he can't play the run. Nobody talks like that unless the owner hired you. John said it was Sirianni. Sirianni has had no influence on hiring anybody. Hey, let me ask you something here. How do you have an influence on hiring somebody when they took all your power away from you? You contradict yourself with those comments when you say that. Would you ever bring in Howie on the show? They would never put him on the show because he can't take hard questions. He doesn't want to be interviewed by anybody who would ask him real questions. He wants to be interviewed by people they feel comfortable with. Remember something. Nobody on that coaching staff and nobody in that organization wants to be interviewed by somebody that will ask real questions. They don't. And they will turn around and say, well, Sileo's unprofessional. I don't know. People that come on our show all the time, especially in season, I get head coaches and general managers that pop on this program, former greats. I get some of the biggest names and people on the planet on this program. They don't have a problem with my questions. So that's a bullshit comment. It's a bullshit statement. It totally does. They hired Vic before he left Miami. I agree with that. I completely agree with that. Hey, Bruce, I'm not ripping anybody like John with that. There's people that want to do their job. But remember something. At the end of the day, Xander knows this. My bread is buttered by JAKIB. It's not buttered by the Eagles. So I don't give a fuck about them, what they think of me. I care about the people who employ me. That's all I care about. Caring what the Eagles think is the furthest from my mentality. I don't personally care. Okay? I'm not looking to be Nick Sirianni's friend. I got his cell phone number. Frank Wright gave it to me. I've got Bob's. I've got all of theirs. I've got Jeff Stoutland's number. I've got Clint Hurts' number. I've got more people than you know in that organization. Vic Fangio recruited me. D. Hurts goes, testy. Testy? About what? If truth means testy, sure. Vic reminds me of Buddy Ryan. A little bit. No nonsense. I think more like Jim Johnson. Hey, Jerron. He kind of reminds me more of Jim Johnson. I think yesterday was the anniversary that you guys lost Jim Johnson, if I'm not mistaken. I think he passed away a couple years yesterday. Am I right when I say that? Didn't he pass away a couple of years yesterday? Was it Jim Johnson? I thought I remembered around this time because I know a bunch of people that played for him. Bob, I don't think he picks the staff. He lets the head coach bring them names, and then work as a team to narrow down the right guys. I'm sure they let Vic pick his own team because he's well respected. Twiz, that's pretty much like it goes. Here's what they'll do. Vic Fangio will want to put a coaching staff together. So you know what they'll do? Vic will put down around 20 names. And they'll look at the 20 names. And then Howie and Jeffrey will vet them. And then they'll pare that down to about 10. And they'll go like this. Pick from this list. Let's interview them. Then they bring them in, and that's how they basically they load the deck. I mean, Vic's picking his guys, but there has to be some insight from the owner and the organization to hire these assistants. That's why Sirianni has no say. Okay, this comes down to management, picking the people that they want to have coach the personnel that they bring in. I mean, you don't really think that Nick Sirianni wanted Julio Jones last year, do you? Right? I love the birds, but I also appreciate someone being authentic and honest. Thanks, Sills. Mad Bird, I say this to you all the time about your football team. You do so many great things. You're having a good 10 days. You really are. I'm encouraged about a lot of things that you're doing. No question about it. Okay, no question about it. You're doing a lot of right things. I'm going to reset here in a second about some of the things that I heard with Kellen, Nick, some of the players. We're going to reset that. By the way, guys, I really appreciate you guys being as cool as you were, especially at the beginning of the program until we rectified some of the issues that we had with our internet. Now we're all good here, it seems. Stills, who do you think is winning the CB2 job? Kyle, that is always a tough ask. Do I want to put a rookie at that position? Stills, do you think that's like asking me, Kyle, do you think Sauce Gardner's on your roster right now? Is Quinyon Mitchell Sauce Gardner? That's a big, big ask. That's a big ask. Okay. Keely Ringo playing corner versus Green Bay and Matt LaFleur is a problem for me. Yale goes Mitchell or Ringo. You got to put Bradbury in there. Get this. You know why Bradbury has to be in there? He knows what to do. He knows what to recognize. Let me ask you something, Yale. Mitchell, Ringo, and Bradbury, you were on an airplane. And you remember that movie that landed in the Hudson with that Sully guy? And he put down the airplane in the Hudson after a bird strike. Do you remember that, and Sullenberg, was it, or something like that, was the pilot. All of a sudden, bird strike hit. What happened? Kept us cool, kept us calm, made decisions that were important, tried to get the airplane to Teterboro, couldn't do it, knew we had to make a maneuver that was going to land the airplane in the Hudson. So we had to make all that without crashing into buildings in downtown New York, outside of LaGuardia in Queens. Had to save 180 people on board, plus the crew, and put it down on the water. And he saved everyone's life. Do you want that pilot? Or do you want a guy who just came out of flight school? If you had a disaster or an issue. Experience matters, especially in a league like that. Everyone's talented. Okay? Now, Twiz, maybe Quinyon Mitchell gets up to speed by mid-season, and then you can move off of James. Yeah, you see my point. Yeah. Do I think that Quinyon Mitchell's a better athlete right now than James Bradbury? Absolutely. That doesn't necessarily bring you home a win. You know what I'm saying? Vic Fangio said he's going to play who makes sense, not a rookie, just because he was drafted in the high ranks. See, that's a problem for me, because if I'm the analytics guys and I'm the people upstairs, once again, that's why you see Nakobe Dean's face in front of a presser. Why would you put Nakobe Dean at a press conference for the media to talk questions to? Unless you were thinking of playing him and giving him his opportunity. Why would you do that? When you put people in front of a microphone and in front of reporters, there's a reason. You don't put just nobodies up there. You put people that you're going to use and that you are counting on to put up there like that, because they're going to be asked questions. Bradbury's a pro. Check out his presser. Yeah, absolutely great. Yale, he was so good. They were asking him. He's a pro's pro, man. I see why they like him. Dude, it's tough to move off a guy like that. Because if you're Vic, you're like, hey, Crowley goes, people age, Sills. Okay. Again, though, dude, Quinyon Mitchell doesn't know dick on what to do against these top flight wide receivers in the league yet. Thank God he's got AJ and Devontae to work against them. I can't tell you what a valuable lesson that is week in and week out. How great that is that you have those kind of players working over the young kid, Keely Ringo as well. It's a great thing, man. It's an absolute great thing that you have those kind of players. Does it get Quinyon Mitchell up to speed quicker? Yes. Can I say this to you too? This is going to sound awful. Xander, this is going to sound awful. You ready? This is going to sound awful. Best thing ever happened to Quinyon Mitchell is that Cooper DeJean got hurt. More reps for him. More reps for him in the slot. More reps for him in nickel. More reps for him on the numbers. Opportunity to get more reps, more work. The more reps you get, like Bob says, the more opportunities you get to get better. So if your rep count goes from 20 to 35, I'm getting an additional 35 to 20 reps every practice. Shit, my growth spurt is going to be quicker, especially when I'm lining up against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Again, Nobody's wishing for Cooper DeJean to be hurt. Nobody want to see the player get out there and make an impact. But best thing ever happened to Quinyon Mitchell is that Cooper DeJean got hurt because now the reps go to him or the reps go to Keely Ringo. And now you're getting those two guys ready. Slot, nickel, or on the numbers. Hey, war of attrition. Like you guys talking to me about Sam Williams. I don't care if Sam Williams is hurt. Great. That's one less guy for the Eagles to have to worry about or Washington to have to worry about. Chills, you hoping for him to be hurt? No. How'd you tie that in? Yeah, but you're saying you don't care because it's the war of attrition. It's part of the conversation every year about a football team. The 2022 Philadelphia Eagle football team was great because of why? Talent and depth. The Eagles had talent and depth in 2022. You don't have depth this year. You have inexperience and great players on offense. That's your identity. Great players on offense, inexperience completely on defense, and no depth. That's who you are. And new coordinators. All of that has to be vetted through before you determine whether or not you're a good football team. You gotta see that in action. CeeDee Lamb, 4 years, 136. Wow, breaking. Jameson, is that real? How much did they get? Wow. Holy cow. They gave him that much? Holy shit. They gave him $34 million. I don't believe that's more than a Jefferson. I thought Jefferson got 35 or 36 a year in Minnesota. He got $34 million, so he got paid more than AJ. He's not better than AJ. Wow. And he's a slot receiver. You paid a slot receiver $35 million a year. The Dallas Cowboys will never learn. You got to make and move off the tough cuts. New England would never sign that guy. They would never sign him. Never in a million years. A.J. Brown is productive, and they win a ton of games. The Cowboys win a ton of games, but they do nothing in the postseason. That's a ton of money, man. And you're paying people on the perimeter. And you let a tackle go. And you're not working the O-line. And you're giving shit to people like Zach Martin. Wow. $35 million a year you give Dak Prescott. Or CeeDee Lamb. AJ's way better than CD. Completely different ball players, but yes. Okay? I want his agent. He robbed the Cowboys without a gun. Thank you very much, Charlie. Yeah. So they overpay for – get this. You're going to pay $60 million for Dak, $35 million for CeeDee Lamb, and you're going to pay another $35 million for Micah Parsons. No way. Cowboys ain't going anywhere. Cowboys ain't going anywhere. You know, it's crazy when Big Sills gives props to AJ in comparison. AJ's better, Johnny. Hey, Johnny. I give him a lot of shit. Okay, but he's productive. He's a productive ball player. 3,000 yards in 2 years. Over 200 catches. Come on, man. Okay. Brown's a great ball player. He is. He's a great and for the record, you've got to do this too. Howie Roseman spotted that an organization was underutilizing him. Because if you go back and look, this is what makes. You think Dak is out, my friend? Dak is out? Maybe. $35 million. Cowboys will never win a Super Bowl with him on that team. Too much money. Sign Dak next. 60? So $100 million. Get this. Think about this, Twiz. If Jerry Jones signs Dak Prescott to a $60 million contract or a $57 million contract, you're going to pay nearly $100 million of a $240 million salary cap to two men. How do you win? And it's not like they're going to put a Howie Roseman deal together where you're going to put a contract out there that's going to be cap friendly. Since when does Jerry Jones do anything when it comes to putting cap friendly numbers together for his roster? When has he ever done that? He's always had to have to cut guys at the end of the day. Right? When does he ever do that? Dak is out. Giants all over him. Or maybe even the Jets, depending on what happens in New York with Aaron Rodgers this year. I'd rather keep Dak and draft Shedeur. I don't want Shedeur Sanders. There's something about the kid. I think there's an issue of character. If they paid Micah, Dak's out. If they pay Dak, Micah's out. Hey, how about this, Sam? I think that one of those two guys is out. Micah Parsons, would you pay Micah Parsons $35 million? Why in the world would I pay an edge rusher like that kind of money? You don't pay an edge rusher like that. Why would you pay for a defensive football player like that? I'm paying a corner for that. Maybe a pass rusher, okay. But is he really a great pass rusher? Early in the year he is. But is he an impactful player? I mean, I don't ever remember him in stretch runs where you look at Michael Parsons and he's a force. He's invisible in the playoffs. I'll tell you what, he's more invisible in the playoffs than Dak is. He's more at 20 range sales. Kyle, he ain't going for 20. Shit, that's Hassan Reddick territory. Does defend the run like Huff. Yeah. I think he's terrible at the run too. I do. Fly Eagle fanatic? Yeah. I think he's terrible against the run too. If this is Dak's last year as a Cowboy, he's going to play his ass off. That scares me as an Eagle fan. Remember something too, Jeff, about Prescott. Prescott loves beating the Eagles, 9-4. So like you say, you can always bring this point up. Hey, Sills, the Cowboys lose in the playoffs. Yeah, but the Cowboys don't lose to the Eagles. And that could be a determining factor on who wins the East or who gets home field advantage. Dak has brilliant games versus Philly. It's documented. If Prescott's out, who's going to throw the ball to a $35 million? Great question. Angelo, that's a really good take because you know why? I think that speaks to Dak being signed and Micah being moved. Dak will be on the bench by midseason if no deal. How can you say that when Prescott had a better season last year, Jalen, than Hurts by far? He threw 37 touchdowns. He led the National Football League in touchdown throws. He only had 9 interceptions last year. And he had a spectacular season. He was great last year. DMAC, Micah would never be traded to Philly. He'd be traded to the AFC. It'd be a team like the Jets, something like that. Maybe New England, because New England has high draft picks. It could be something like that. They paid who should have. CD is the most consistent. Yeah, but how did CD Lamb get paid? He got paid because of Prescott. Same reason Justin Jefferson, that I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to rue the day they got rid of Kirk Cousins. There's a reason he got paid that money in Minnesota. He got paid that money because Jefferson was a benefactor to what Cousins did up there in Minnesota. If Dak was a racer, he'd make qualifying, then overheat the wheels and choke the clutch. Yeah, well, guess what? He beats the Eagles. Micah doesn't have a no trade clause, so they couldn't send him to Philly. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he's still on that rookie deal, if I'm not mistaken. The only way they trade him to Philly is if he had won and demanded it. They'd never trade him to Philly. As a matter of fact, you know what's funny about that, Sam? That's how you got Devontae Smith. Remember that draft day move? You guys switched picks because Dallas didn't get Patrick Surtain, who ended up going to the Broncos, and they moved down, and you guys ended up taking Smith, and then they took Parsons. I mean, who would have thought that how that thing rolled out on draft day was that there was movement between the Cowboys and Eagles on draft day that day. Smitty would have been a Giant, yeah. Right? They have to sign Dak now. They blew that much. That's right. That's correct. What are you going to do? Cooper Rush is going to throw him the ball now? No way. They would never trade him to an NFC East team. Absolutely not. They would trade him to an AFC East team, a team like Buffalo or a team like the Jets or a team like New England because of the draft picks. They could trade him to Baltimore. Baltimore's got money. Okay, Chicago's got money. Could see Chicago being a play. No, they'd never trade him in the NFC. But they would trade him in the AFC. Would they trade him to Kansas City? Kansas City's got money. Dak will be the highest paid quarterback. Probably. Absolutely. Has Micah led the league in sacks yet? No, because he's not better than Bosa, TJ Watt, or Garrett. He's not better than those guys. Hey, disciple, he's a good player, though. He's a good player. Okay? I don't see them moving Micah, to be honest. I see them moving on from Dak. No way. Dude, you're not going to bring a rookie quarterback in to throw CeeDee Lamb passes and quails and have a rookie or free agent in there. You give a receiver $35 million, you better have a competent guy. Minnesota, again, you know who's going to start up there in Minnesota? Sam Darnold is going to start in Minnesota. It's not going to be J.J. McCarthy. Sam Darnold is going to start. You pay a wide receiver. Hey, do you want to be the Raiders with Devontae Adams? Yeah, am I right? Look at the Raiders. The Raiders have a $28 million a year wide receiver in Devontae Adams in Las Vegas. For what? What's the point? So Aiden O'Connell can throw him ducks? What's the point of having that? I don't want Devontae Adams being on the Raiders is a joke. You have no solidified quarterback to justify that money getting him the football. Why in the world would you pay that money? You'd move him for draft picks. He's competent in the regular season, not in the playoffs. They'll likely move Dak and bring in someone like Atlanta did with Cousins. Who would that be? Stafford? Would the Raiders make him? I mean, would the Cowboys make a move with the Rams? And the Rams do what? Draft a quarterback? Make a trade for a quarterback? Sean McVay? Trade for Dak? Dak Prescott with Sean McVay would be scary. I'll tell you this. If I'm the Rams, and I know they just restructured that Stafford deal, but if Stafford, again, doesn't show me promise, if I'm Sean McVay, I go after Dak. And I put Dak on that Rams team. Puka Nacua and with Cooper Kupp and a phenomenal play caller. And you got an organization that's going to build around him football-wise with Les Snead and Kevin Demoff. And yeah, right. Prescott would win in Los Angeles with the Rams. He would win there. And remember, right now, he's a free agent at the end of this year because he doesn't have a contract. He doesn't have to sign shit. Come February 8th. Is it February 8th? Or January 8th? I forget what it is. He becomes an automatic free agent. It might be March 8th. I think when those guys become free agents. I think it's March 8th. Something down there. Dak could walk right out of Dallas and into the Rams. And they move off of Stafford. And Stafford moves somewhere else. And they eat the cap money because they lowered it. Because they restructured it. 31-7. Dan Sileo, my friends told me the Eagles are interested in Shaq Lawson. Would you bring him in? Yeah. He was one of the guys, but if you look over the last couple of years, I don't know, man. He fell out of favor with the Jets for some reason with Robert Saleh. Last year, I think he had 6 sacks, or maybe the year before that, he had 6 sacks in limited play. He's not a bad football player. Okay? He's a pretty good player. Can you put Dak on the Chiefs and you could put Dak on the Chiefs and he'd still choke it up. Hey, Johnny, you say that, and now you have Dak's coordinator. Did he choke too, or was it just Dak? So Dak takes the full blunt of the Cowboy failures and not the coordinator or the coaches or anybody else in that building. So Kellen Moore gets none of that credit too for them shitting the bed when he was there in the postseason? Or is it really all Dak you're blaming? You guys keep telling me how great a coordinator Kellen is. Well, don't Kellen's failures in the postseason also go against him? Or is it really all Dak? It's not all Dak. You don't blame Hurts. Why would you blame Dak? And Moore was fired in Dallas for failing in the postseason. I mean, it's mixture, senor. It's both. I think it's coaching and playing. I think both. I think it's accountability. It's absolutely true. But you can't sit here and go, well, coaching fucked up Jalen Hurts last year. Well, wait a minute. Okay, Kellen Moore didn't screw up Dak in Dallas. Wait a minute. Hey, how come that metric works in one place? Johnny Cage. Hey, wait. Johnny Cage is right here. Of course I'm blaming Dak. I'm an Eagle fan. Excuse me, man. Best take of the day. You're right. Hey, Johnny. Okay. You're right, Johnny. You're right, dude. Okay? Yeah, you're right, brother. Steven said they sent new offers to CD and Dak yesterday. Guess CD was happy with it. Michael. Yeah, I heard that. What if Kellen Moore has learned? More experience now, Sills. Yeah, okay. Dak learned too last year. Had a pretty good year. By the way, would we not agree, Eagle fan? Both Prescott and Jalen had pretty shitty playoff games. Would we not agree that? I mean, you wouldn't go, one guy was better than the other, would you? Eagles didn't even score 9 points against a Buccaneer team that couldn't score more than 9 points the week previous to Carolina. Wasn't like both guys played great. So, I mean, right? Both had shitty playoff games. So, I mean, if Andy can make Wentz look good, again, do you think Dallas looks at him? What if Mahomes goes down for a stretch of games and that guy goes 5-6-0? rejuvenate his career. And he goes 5-0, Kansas City. Does Wentz under Andy Reid. Carson Wentz could possibly win a Super Bowl. You know, Carson Wentz can win his second Super Bowl ring as a backup quarterback. How crazy is that? He could have 2 rings. One with Andy Reid and KC, and of course, one with the Eagles. He could have 2 Super Bowl rings. So Carson Wentz owns the single season passing mark with the Eagles and touchdown throws mark. And he potentially could have 2 rings by the end of this year. I don't know. It just sounds weird with that guy. I mean, Carson Wentz has 2 Super Bowl rings. Hey, and by the way, I love this fact. Last year he was with McVay. Now he's with Reid. He's trying to figure it out, in my opinion. Wentz was not a backup quarterback. Stop it. He didn't even suit up during the Super Bowl. Figure of speech, dude. He was a backup quarterback after he ended up getting hurt. Okay. Got me, senor. He got a ring. Okay. 2 rings, but no snaps. Crazy, huh? Crazy. McNabb has won most big games. McNabb has won most big games except a handful of championship games and a Super Bowl. Well, that matters, Jason. Okay? Senor, however you want to look at him as a guy on the Eagles, you fill the narrative then. False news. He's got a Super Bowl ring. Finished second in the MVP balloting that year. Those are facts. He's got a Super Bowl ring, and he finished second in most valuable player voting. And he won the Art Bell Award, like your boy did. Those are facts. Winston did do nothing. He went 11-2. And the only reason you have home field advantage is because of that player. You don't win a Super Bowl. Philadelphia Eagles have never gone to a Super Bowl without hosting home field. Do you know that? They've never gone to a Super Bowl when they didn't host home field. Ever. In their history. Dak hasn't gone past. I know he hasn't gone past the divisional round. I know he hasn't. The Cowboys haven't been to a conference championship game in 30 years almost. Okay? These people can't give people their flowers. No, because they have hatred for people like that. I don't really care about Wentz. I could care less. But he's got a Super Bowl ring. Holds your season records for passing, yards, and touchdowns. Won you home field advantage and finished second in most valuable player voting. Those are facts. And as a ring. Nothing wrong with that. The only people that have a problem with it are people who want to give. You know why? Because the more you do that, it diminishes Jalen. That's why. When it doesn't really. Wentz is going to pull a Foles and get a statue in KC. Charlie, that I'm not saying. That I'm not going to say. Just go back and watch Wentz's highlights with the Eagles. The guy was off the hook. Mike, I'll say this one more time, and I'll try to say this for the last time. Before he got hurt in Los Angeles, I thought you were watching the next Brett Favre. I thought he played like Brett Favre. Throwing his body around, the way he ran, the way he threw the ball. The guy was a machine. He was a machine. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was watching. He was so good. And I'm like, this guy comes from North Dakota State. Where the F is that? And you're like, holy cow. And then he got hurt. And the coordinator started leaving and the business of the NFL changed. And that was the end of it. But better runner than Favre, Yale? Yeah. I thought you were watching the brand new Brett Favre. Guy would put that ball in there on a needle, had no receivers to say or anything, had a good tight end and a good running back. But outside of that, Wentz had nothing what's in that offensive huddle today. Had nothing like that. And by the way, Wentz was 10 times the passer Jalen is. 10 times the passer. Numbers dictate it. Lack of talent around him dictate it. Trey Lance came from North Dakota State too. Forrest, the only problem that I had with him was, didn't he play like only one season up there? And then in the COVID year, didn't he like only play like 3 games? Seriously, I had to go back on YouTube. To like get highlights off him. Alshon Jeffries was great. No, he wasn't. He was good. If he was great, he catches that pass in New Orleans. That falls through him. I always thought he was good. I thought he was better in Chicago. I didn't think he was great. Did Alshon have a 1,000-yard receiving season in Philly? He might have. I don't know. Did he ever catch 1,000 yards? I thought Alshon Jeffries was better in Chicago. I didn't think he was a superstar player in Philly. I think after 2019, the cushion really did him in. He was off and slow. Did him in. He was off and slow since then. Yeah, could be. Okay. Yeah, I never thought Alshon Jeffries was a superstar ball player. I thought he was good. Great? No. Chicago, real good. 4,000 passing yards. 0 receivers over 500 yards. It's still nuts. Think about that, Forrest. Jalen can't throw for over 3,900 yards. He's got 2 1,000-yard receivers 2 years in a row. And Wentz had nobody over 500 yards receiving as a receiver. A crazy number. Crazy number. Senior says 0 1,000 seasons in Philly. Yeah, I thought Alshon was good. Never thought he was spectacular. Seals, would Dallas look at Wentz if he looks great in preseason and they want to move on from Dak? Surely Wentz will take less than Dak is demanding. Man, would you really put your season in Carson Wentz's hands and move off of Prescott? I would let Prescott play the season out. Play it out. Why would I get rid of him? I'm not trading him. Let him play the season out. You're going to get the best Dak Prescott you can this year. Could be his last season. Let him play it out. Right? Let him play it out. Carson Wentz, his best year was better than Jalen Hurts' best year. Yeah. He's a better passer. Like the year he threw for 30-some-odd touchdowns, the 33 touchdowns that year was great. That was a great season for him. I think he had 3,300 passing yards or something. He had 33 touchdowns. It was freaking great. His highest was 843 in 2018. Yeah, I mean, Alshon Jeffries was a dude in Philly. He was never like any of the guys you have now. Devontae runs circles around that guy. Runs circles around him. Wentz could go to 49ers. Why? They got a guy there. All right, let me take a timeout. Want to take a timeout. Guys, do me a favor. We're going to reset a little bit on some of the things that went on in Kellen Moore's press conference, some of the things that some of the players said. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Just got word that the Eagles and Justin Simmons are talking. Not saying a deal is pending. Not saying a deal is pending. But they're keeping close contact with one another. I happen to know Justin Simmons' agent and his people, and he's looking at potential landing spots. And the Jets are on his list. Kansas City's on his list, believe it or not. Also the Rams and the 49ers. So he's got people that are interested in his services. So, I mean, he doesn't have to go to training camp. He's a 30-year-old, 31-year-old guy. And by the way, this would be a 1-year deal. 1 year with an option. And if you're going to bring him back, you'd have to sign a contract with this. This year would be big money. Next year would be no money. So you front end it. And you do it in a signing bonus. How close do you think you are to winning the Super Bowl if you're Philly? That's a Super Bowl move. Because you're going to spend money for that. How close do you think you are to winning the Super Bowl? Are you going to go, well, let's do this. Let's sign this guy for $12 million for 2 years. And you give him front end. You have a low base, but you give the majority of it in signing bonus. Vic's got to be a part of that. You could be creative here where your cap hit is nothing next year and you can move off them. But then again, the signing bonus money is part of the equation in this. Simmons is looking for a bag of money and opportunity. Simmons knows the scheme. Can you imagine Justin Simmons and Gardner Johnson together? And you're sitting there going, what about the young players? How close do you believe you're what you have in the secondary is not Super Bowl worthy? Justin Simmons Gardner Johnson, Darius Slay, and Quinyon Mitchell is Super Bowl worthy. You're missing the point all the time, many of you. Why not put Keely Ringo and Quinyon Mitchell on the field at the same time? Any quarterback worth his weight in gold, including a guy like Baker Mayfield, to rip them a new one. With your mediocre linebacker play, you really think you're not going to have an open space in the middle of the field with inexperienced ball players? You need experience. Let's take a look at your defense. You have limited experience on your defensive tackle position. You have limited experience at one of your edge rushers in Bryce Huff. You have none in the other side. Now, if you're going 4, you got Sweat. There's experience. Your linebackers, 0 with Dean, 0 with Braun. You got it with White, but he's underachieved the last 4 years. Slay, you got great experience. Gardner Johnson, you have great experience. The other safety position, Reed Blankenship, told you, he's a dude. I like him sometimes. In the other corner, you have none, except for Bradbury. Reed Blankenship is not a dog. If Reed Blankenship is a starter in your secondary and your next guy is a rookie, you're in trouble. Did you not see the 31st ranked pass defense a year ago? Or were you blind? How would it affect the locker room bringing in Simmons after bringing Blankenship back with Sidney Jones coming off an injury after? Who fucking cares? I don't care about your feelings. I care about winning a Super Bowl. Sam, how would it be? Who cares? I don't care about your feelings on that shit. You play with the people that are in your locker room. Well, we're going to go. I don't care about that. You sign the best players to get you in a position to win a Super Bowl. Look, if you think 25 is your season, Justin Simmons is a horrible move. He is a horrible move. But if you think you're a Super Bowl team right now, he's a tremendous move. Reed Blankenship is good enough to get you by for a game or two. Yeah, but I put Reed Blankenship next to Justin Simmons, and you got Gardner Johnson over there in the slot. You got something. How many times did Reed Blankenship get turned around last year in the middle of the field? How many times were you watching that? 20? Dude, times you love him, times you don't. He's that kind of guy. Now, is that youth? Does he need more reps? Probably. Okay, probably. Sills, give him more reps. Give him a chance to grow. Okay, then why do you have James Bradbury back there then playing safety that he has never played? Why are you doing that then? If you think so much of Reed Blankenship, why are you playing James Bradbury at safety? Well, Cooper DeJean got hurt. Jesus criminy, really? Okay, so he got hurt. So Bradbury's on the team then with that philosophy and that mentality. Okay? James Bradbury right now could be your most important depth piece that you have. Play him at corner, and you're trying to work him in at the slot. See, you can get away with Bradbury at the slot safety. You can get away with that. You can't get away with him at free and strong because he can't play it. You could probably get away with him at nickel too. When Sidney Brown, Doug, I'm not starting Sidney Brown anywhere. He over pursues plays. He's not a very good tackler. He's a great hitter, but he's far from polished. Sidney Brown has a ton of potential. That's where it lies. Blankenship played both safety positions last year. Okay. Probably the reason he's there because his versatility. He's not a bad, like I said about him. Reed Blankenship's a good player. Okay. Is he a great player? Absolutely not. Do you have to have guys like him on the team? Absolutely. Absolutely. He's a good ball player. I don't really have a problem with him, but he's not an end all. Yeah, Twiz, great comment, Twiz. He's a box safety. He's like, yeah. He's something like that. Correct. He's what he means by that, he's a zone safety. So, he keeps everything underneath. He's not going to try to let anything get beat deep on him, but he's not going to cover a guy coming out of the back. You think that guy's going to cover Travis Kelce? Give me a break. You think that guy covers somebody like that? You're out of your freaking mind if you think that. Out of your freaking mind. We need good players on defense. Not all players on defense have to be all pro. Correct. Hey, Senor, I think you have to have more competent players on what they're doing. You're right. You don't have to be sensational over there. You don't. By the way, with the hip drop tackle now being out, I think you just have to have guys that don't give up big plays. And I think the zone defense is perfect for today's NFL. Dude, that man coverage stuff, you've got to have Jalen Ramsey or Sauce Gardner or people like that at your cornerbacks. And if you don't, you better play zone. You better play zone. Because today's NFL, hitting and knocking guys out and putting guys on the ground, you know those old videos they used to have, NFL big hits, the biggest hits? Those videos are gone. They have none of that any longer. The Cam Chancellors of the world, those guys are Neanderthals. They belong in museums. You're not going to see players like that any longer. Brown should start over Blankenship. No, he shouldn't. Where in the world would you get that Sidney Brown should start over Reed Blankenship when he's missed an entire year with a knee injury? Are you out of your mind? Dude, Sidney Brown is 2 years away from playing effective football. It's going to take him a year to get back to being healthy. Then it's going to take him another half a year to get acclimated back into playing the type of football that he can play. That's how long that injury is. What do you think? He comes off the injured reserve list? You're going to pop him right in there? Yeah, okay. And you're going to cover what? Jamar Chase with him? Seals, you shifted on Simmons coming already. And I liked to go with what you said before, better off developing. Okay, Akbar, right. Because I think you're not a Super Bowl team. And remember what I just said, Akbar, if you believe you're a Super Bowl team, you sign him. If you don't, you don't, and you play the younger guys. That's where I'm at. You've got to determine, do you believe you're a Super Bowl team? Because you're not a Super Bowl team with all the youth in the secondary. Those guys need time. Remember something, they had Snead back there when they were playing those young players in Kansas City. Plus you had Steve Spagnuolo. No disrespect to Vic, but he's not Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo has 4 Super Bowl rings as a coordinator. I mean, he's won Super Bowls. I don't really think Vic's ever been to one as a DC. I don't think he's been to one. And no disrespect, I think Vic is doing a great job. Okay? Anyone on one leg is faster than Blankenship. Blankenship's a good player, man. It's not a rip. It's not a rip. Hey, look, I want to say again here about what Kellen and those guys did here on Saturday here. I loved the press conference. I really did. I love the fact that he and Jalen Hurts are trying to figure out how to make this offense his. They're settling on protection between Jurgens and Jalen. They're going to split it. Barkley's going to be kind of a chameleon in how they're going to play him each and every single week. Barkley's going to be more of part of the offense than I thought he was going to be. He is going to be more of the offense. And I think he is going to be week to week. It's going to be depending on the opponent that you play. I mean, like, get this. This is how I would play Barkley. The way Kellen was talking, this is how I would play him. Packer game, I'm going to throw the ball to him a ton. Falcons, I'm going to run the ball against the Falcons. I don't think they could stop the run. Saints, I'm going to throw the ball against the Saints because I think they can stop the run. Bucks, depending if Villaveda's in there. Villaveda's in there, I'm throwing the ball. I want to see those linebackers that Todd Bowles is so high on. I want to see how good they are. And I want to see them cover Barkley. The Browns, that'll be a challenge because they can do both. And Schwartz is a pretty creative coordinator. Giants, I'm going to do both. And I'm going to get this. I'm going to have to temper Barkley in these Giant games, especially that first one in Week 7 in the Meadowlands. I don't want that guy to get too far ahead of himself in some revenge game that this guy's all out playing the game like the Super Bowl because he wants to shove it in their face. This is about the war. This is about the winning of the war, not a battle. And I don't care about the Giants. The Giants are non-significant. I don't want to make the Giants significant by knocking him out, by playing hard against him because they want to make a statement. I don't need that. Okay? Those Giant games, to me, will kind of nerve me if I'm Eagle management. Okay? The Giants are going nowhere. Don't make them relevant in your season. The Bengal game will be an interesting one because that Giants team, I think Duke Tobin's done a nice job putting talent on that side of the ball. But I think you can beat them passing the ball with Barkley. I don't think they have linebackers that can cover them. Jags, I'd run the ball at it. I'd run the ball with him in that game. I want to see if they can stop the run. I don't really think the Jags are great at stopping the run. Cowboys, I'm going to run the ball right down their throat. You know, Saquon Barkley's never beaten the Dallas Cowboys. In his entire career, he's 0-10. He's never beaten the Cowboys. Commanders will be a tough one, but I don't think that they can stop the run. I'm going to run the ball at him. The Rams game, I'm going to throw the ball. Baltimore, I'm going to run the ball. Panthers, they probably are decent stopping the run. They've always been throwing the ball. Steelers, run the ball at them. Then you finish up Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. Guys, I can't thank you guys enough for today. I really can't because we started the program up. We had to kind of improvise a little bit with the phone, and you guys were sensational. And we really thank you guys a lot for doing that. And we're now off and running. We got everything seemingly fixed. So thank you guys again. You guys were sensational. Please hit the like button. And you guys really hooked us up today on all platforms. We can't thank you enough. Krause, Xander, we thank you. 2-6. Don't forget tomorrow. You got Birds 365, ton of content going on the program and on the network. As I said, 2-6 tomorrow, Eastern time, and we shall see you on the flip side.